Man like Mark Sullivan, the Warrior Cell. Stay tuned for the thrilling episode. Woo!
A positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life.
This is the Snowboard Project featuring Mark Sullivan and the Beav. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Hey, what's up, all you Snowboard Project listeners? A lot of you know and some of you don't, but we just sent out our sticker packs to all our supporters on Patreon, just in time for you to slap a sticker on your new board. You sponsor us, and we're going to give you so much great content just about real life in snowboarding. But hey, if you haven't checked out patreon.com/The Snowboard Project, you can sponsor us and help us keep bringing you all this great content. We are talking about so much this month. We are talking about snowboarding bottom line. 2, we are talking about life experiences through snowboarding. We have a weekly news show and we just bullshit and keep it real in the snowboard industry. We are talking not just about tricks. This is bigger than that. This is about experiencing snowboarding for what it is, the adventure, the friendships, the progression on the mountain and off the mountain in life, following your passion in whatever aspect of snowboarding you happen to love. This podcast is snowboarding and making the most of every single day in snowboarding. So please visit us on patreon.com/The Snowboard Project and help us keep bringing you all these great stories from snowboarders just like you.
All right, so today I'm joined by the legend Kurt Heine, and by legendary I mean the pro rider, the filmer of MacDog movies, winner of a gold medal in real snow for the X Games, and still shredding though. That's the thing. I see him on Facebook. I follow him on Facebook, and he's like up at hood all the time, still a snowboarder, right? So welcome to the show, Kurt.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mark, for giving me a call and have an opportunity to talk some stories of the new and old stories from back in the day.
So you've been snowboarding a long time, right? You were like one of the original guys kind of going to hood and kind of establishing that scene as a rider. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was at how I originally started. I used to be a skier when I was younger in the early 80s, and I'd ski maybe 3 times a year. And one time I went skiing at Mount Bachelor, and when I was on the chairlift, I looked down, and I don't know who it was, but they're just floating on top of the powder and just shredding underneath the chair. And I was like, wow, I got to try that. Then I got home. When I got back home, I bought a 84 backhill Burton. Bought that, tried it for a day, got laughed at by all my friends because it took me an hour and a half to get down the hill on this backhill Burton. Sold that, then started renting boards, and this was in the early 80s, mid 80s. Yeah, it was pretty fun back then, going to the mountains with nobody else around.
Yeah, it's like any time you saw another snowboarder back then, it was like you were trying to catch up to them. They were your friend instantly. You rode the lift with them. It wasn't, snowboarding's changed a lot over the years, but back in those very early days, it was like a lot of camaraderie among anyone who was standing sideways, it seemed like. So, all right, so what else were you doing back then? You were kind of going to school. Is that when you were a teenager you started?
Yeah, I was in school. I think I was like around 16 when I started snowboarding. I think it was 85, 84.
Yeah.
And like I said, I used to ski, but once I picked up the snowboard, I'd go 3 times a week instead of 3 times a year. So picked that up and eventually got sponsored, loved it. And the coolest thing about snowboarding back in the beginning for Mount Hood area is sometimes you go up on the weekends and you would never see another snowboarder on the hill. So if you did see somebody, you'd like watch him, follow him, and try to be his friend, because I didn't know how to snowboard back then. I had the worst style, stink bug, didn't know how to turn, didn't know how to do anything. And so I looked at videos and magazines trying to learn how to snowboard. I had nobody to look up to that was in my local area. Actually, Mike Estes was around back then. I looked up to him. He was better than me when I first started snowboarding. So
yeah. And, and then eventually you got sponsored, became a pro for Kemper, right? That was still in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it
was
end of the 80s?
I think 88 or 89. I sent him a resume. Actually, I sent Burton a resume first. And I sent him all my original photos to Burton, and I didn't know about seasons and stuff. You have to send them the resume before the season started to get sponsored. I got a decline for a no-go for the Burton sponsorship, so I sent a resume to Kemper. They picked me up right away, and they sent me loads of snowboards and clothes, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And to get free snowboards and free clothes and boots and all this stuff, and yeah, that's pretty much how the beginning started for me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing, I don't know if it was an ad with you or photos of you, and God, it could have been ISM, could have been an early transfer, but man, you had this crazy mullet. You would look like a Hesher, like you were just like had this image that was like different than everyone else. Were you like a big metalhead back then, or what was that based on?
I was the biggest rocker in my high school. I'd wear spandex to school. I'd wear parachute pants. I had long hair. I was probably the only rocker that didn't do the rocker things. I didn't smoke. I rarely drank, but I went to a concert every week when I was younger, and I had the hair, and I had the mini truck with 6x9s in the back and big amplifiers, and I was like the biggest metalhead. Judas Priest, Scorpions, Kiss, AC/DC, you name it. I was known as actually back then I had a nickname called the Mount Hood Rocker, because at one time in my life, back then I had a perm with frosted hair tips. My girlfriend at the time talked me into making my hair super big. Looking back on it, super big perm, with hairspray and hair dryer, and whatever dippity do goop I put in my hair. Now you look back at it and it's pretty comical.
Yeah, well, they saw you coming, and then it stood out basically among all the other guys, who were out there. You were like the only rocker who I knew who was like a sponsored athlete and kind of like making pages of magazines, and you had this image that was, different than everyone else, which was kind of cool. So you were a pro back then. Did you like compete? Were you what were you doing like as a sponsored athlete?
The main thing I'd do is I'd go to all the local events. I'd go to the bank slalom. I did the Baker Bank slalom, I think the second or third year, and I did that for 7 years in a row. One year I got the fastest qualifying time. I was pretty stoked, but then I wrecked on my final day. But I used to do Mount Baker every year, and I'd do like the Timberline Classic. I'd do all the Mount Bachelor and Hoodoo contest and Snoqualmie Pass, that whole area. I'd do all those local contests, but I never did any contest outside of Oregon. And I did one in BC. I did the West Beach, West Beach Challenge, or whatever it was called back then. I did that and got to see all my heroes like Craig Kelly and all those guys that are going to those big contests. So you mentioned Estes. Who else were you riding with back in those early days? My main friends, good friends, was Andy Wolf and Jason Newman. We were like close friends. They started a little bit later than I did, but we were the group of friends that would always go hiking or drive up together. We'd go through, like I said, 3 or 4 times a week, and it was Jason Newman and Andy Wolf were super good friends. But then Mike Estes was already, I think he started snowboarding maybe a little bit before I did, but I looked up to him. He was actually doing more progressive tricks than I was back then, so it was cool riding with Mike, because I was a Mount Hood Meadows guy with Andy and Jason, and Mike Estes was a Timberline guy, so there was like 2 different groups of people. Right, and you literally looked up to him because he's like 6'4". Yeah. He's a big guy. Yeah, a funny guy too. He's funny. Yeah, he's good style. Mike had a good style. It was good to ride with him when I did. So were you going to Hood back then, the summer, like to Timberline, and doing like, was that before camps in the summertime? Or? Yeah, I was. One that stands out to me is when, I think it was late 80s, mid 80s or something, I went to Timberline in the summer, and like I said, there was very few snowboarders back then, so if you saw another snowboarder on the mountain, it was like, oh, that's cool. I saw a guy on an old Avalanche with hard boots do like a a suitcase method where you grab your toe edge, and I saw that and I thought he was God, and I go, I gotta learn that, and I tried to do that, and I ollied off my toe edge and landed face first, and it's just funny to look back at the progression of how to jump your snowboard. I didn't know anything about it. It's like I didn't have nobody to follow back then.
And that kind of explains, I mean, back then, you know, you had to learn everything from just like not knowing anything to like catching air and landing, you know, and all of that. Now today it's like there's a lot of established kind of riding out there where kids, I think, progress a little bit quicker today than back then. The equipment is so much different. I mean, the equipment, you know, makes it a lot easier. It's been really developed. So how long did you ride for Kemper for?
I rode for him for 3 years, I think 88 to 91. Then they dropped me. I don't know if they were money problems or what it was, but then I went straight from then to Morrow Snowboards. And I rode for them for like 3 years.
And that's when Morrow was kind of blowing up and like developing. I think went public or something back then. Was it back then or was it a little later? I'm not sure.
Maybe a little bit later, but their boards were super fun. They had a better feel to them, even though they're made out of foam, but it was Rob Morrow's company, and I knew Rob pretty good, and it was just nice to ride with a company from Rob Morrow. I really looked up to his aggressive riding style. He's like all or nothing style, and I like the way their board's carved, and I rode for those guys for 3 years.
Cool. So were you getting in magazines and videos? I mean, there were only a handful of videos back then. What were you doing?
Oh, what helped me out a lot is and I feel super lucky and fortunate looking back at this, is there was 2 staff photographers at Meadows that were assigned to shoot the people on the mountain, like the skiers or whatever lifestyle. And every weekend they would call me or I'd call them, let's meet up and go do a shoot. So I had these 2 professional photographers that I would go with either one of them when they were available on Saturday or Sunday when I was up there or whatever after a good snowstorm. And these guys would go out and shoot photos of me every time, and then that got my foot in the door to get magazines and more sponsors by having all these good professional photos shot.
Mm-hmm. So at what point did you kind of turn over from being like a sponsored kind of pro? I mean, back then pro wasn't very lucrative, so it was like maybe you, I don't know, pay your bills a little bit or you know, go on a couple cool trips, but it wasn't like, you know, retirement money or anything like that. So when did you decide to like pick up a camera and start shooting film or video? Back then when I was sponsored, it wasn't really much money at all to talk about, but I hurt myself. How I got into filming is I was riding a vert ramp on my skateboard and did an air and my foot slipped off the tail, and I did the splits and I blew out my knee and kept riding for years after that, and my knee just got super bad, and I ended up having quite a few surgeries on my right knee from that skateboard accident. So in between recovering from all my surgeries, I would be so jonesing to go ride, but I couldn't, so I'd hobble up to the mountain and either hike up to the half pipe or snowboard down gently on my knee and film all my friends snowboarding. So on my down days from all my knee surgeries, that's how I picked up the camera and learned how to use the camera and knew all the good riders. So back in the early 90s, I think 90, 91, I made my own movie. It's called Staying Alive. It's super low budget. I think I've seen that, actually. It's
really bad quality, but I had a friend edit and that lived at Mount Bachelor. It sold probably like 200 copies of super low budget local movies. It was cool thing about the movie was all the people from Mount Hood. So it was like people that had never been in videos before. We filmed everybody. It was like 20 of the best riders from Mount Hood. So then one year, Mac Dog was up filming in the summer with Slasnik and Chris Roach and stuff, and he heard that I had some good footage from filming all the pros in the summertime. So he approached me at Mount Hood. I think that was 91, I think, and he said, "Send me your footage. I'll check it out, and I'd like to buy it." And everything went from there. He saw my footage and bought it, and then the following year he hired me full time.
Cool. And then you became like one of the principal cinematographers outside of Mac Dog himself for a number of years, right? I mean, there was you. Who else was filming for Mac Dog back then?
Not to be tooting my own horn, but I think I filmed like a good half of his movies back then. Probably 50%, I'm guessing.
So which riders were you filming primarily?
I was filming Peter Line. I think I was the first one to film Peter Line. I found him at... we found each other. In other words, I'm not trying to say I'm the one that made him, but yeah, we met up at Mount Hood during a couple of those half pipe shoots. I filmed and met him there, and met him at some contest, and Yeah, Peter Lyon was one of the new and up-and-comers that we got a good friendship bond. And
he had a real interesting personality in the film back then. What was it like hanging out with him back in those early days? I just remembered these like weird kind of interstitial parts in the Mac Dog movies where he'd say some like, "Oh, I live with squirrels" or something.
He was definitely a different character. He was not a typical normal guy. If you didn't know him, you would think he was. If you didn't know him really good, you think, "Wow, he's a super weird guy," but deep down inside, he's a good guy. What I liked more about Peter Lyon was most thing is when it made my job easier because 90% of the time he'd go off a jump, he'd land it. He had landing gear like no other. He would stomp flat landings, and it was super fun to film with him. Okay,
so what were the other like the other guys you enjoyed filming with?
Dave Lee, Todd Schlosser. I helped get JD Platt, Jeff Pilchat.
Yeah,
I was at a contest and he was there. Became friends with him and showed Dogger the footage of Jeff Pilchat, and Dogger goes, "Yeah, let's put him on. He's a good guy and good writer, and it's fun working with him."
Yeah, it seems like back then there was like a lot more partying going on. Were you like a party guy? Were you partying with these guys, or were you kind of the voice of reason in the crew? Like, come on, everyone up at 6, let's go. We got to do this.
I had a pretty strong work ethic back then. I didn't like party. I just wanted to get the best footage and find the biggest and best jumps for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Were you building jumps too back then, or were you just finding them kind of?
I actually, before my knee got really bad, I was actually building them and I would guinea pig them. I would go, "You guys, look at this jump I built." And they all look at me. This didn't happen all the time, but they look at me like, "That jump is horrible, Kurt. That ain't going to work. You're not going to get to the landing. It's the wrong trajectory." It's like, okay, let me hit it first. I'd hike up and hit this big cheese wedge or quarter pipe we built, and I'd stomp it or I'd wreck or whatever, and they'd sometimes motivate him. For the first couple of years filming, I would hit a lot of the jumps with them, either before or after or during. So it was sort of fun being a writer that's filming other pro riders. It made my job fun. It was more of a good bond. You just can't take an office guy out to the backcountry and say, "Hey, build this jump," if he's never built one,
Yeah. So did you start traveling the world at that point? Because I know that like the pros got to travel quite a bit to Europe or Japan or stuff like that. Did they kind of fly you around as well to kind of film all these trips they were doing?
Yeah, I pretty much got to go anywhere. It was good. I was always on the go. We need to go to New Zealand. We need to go to Japan. We need to go to Norway. I mean, I got to travel with the best of the best and was always around the top 10 guys in the world and got to travel with them, just like felt like I was endless budget. His travel budget was endless back then. It's like, okay, we need to go somewhere, we go, and I felt like it was a dream job,
Yeah. So what was your like favorite trip from those early days, like filming?
I think the first 2 Arctic challenges were super good in Norway, with going over there with Terrier and all the select top 20 or 30 riders he'd invite. We'd go to these islands with super small fishing villages and
Svalbard, right? Svalbard, Norway. Is that where it was?
Yeah, Lofoten or
Lofoten. I don't know.
I'm not. There was a couple of different places they had it, but it was just amazing. Super cool fjords and these mountains that came up straight from the ocean. It was just cool places to be. And New Zealand was another one because I went to New Zealand almost every summer for like 6 years, and it was just amazing going down there. And it was like a vacation, but getting paid for it,
Yeah. So I mean, just listening to you tell the story, it's like, wow, that sounds amazing. It sounds like a dream job. Was there any downsides to that back then?
The downside is never being home, and if you had a girlfriend at that time or married, they weren't too happy if you're gone for 3 weeks to a month. You'd have to have a good girlfriend that would stay around during those times. If you're gone all the time, that doesn't make them happy. But other than that, the traveling aspect, looking back at it, is like I got to see the world on somebody else's buck, which is nice,
Yeah.
And plus, I get to go ride untouched powder often in these places, which are heli trips. I mean, free heli trips. Who's going to complain about that?
There's not much to complain about free heli trips, that's for sure.
Hey, what's up, Snowboard Project listeners? I know you're probably sitting on the couch or in the car or somewhere with another friend of yours who is also a snowboarder who is sitting there scrolling on his phone, on his Facebook, on his Instagram, and he has no idea what a podcast is. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the challenge. You need to walk over to your friend, grab his phone, scroll down and find that little purple podcast button that he has no idea has never opened, and I want you to press it. And you are going to do him the biggest favor of his life right now. You are going to subscribe him or her to the Snowboard Project. And then you're going to rate us 5 stars, and you're going to throw him his phone back and say, "You're welcome." They get to listen every week to 3 different stories, a couple from, other snowboarders just like them, or maybe an industry person that will give them the great information they want to know about design, or maybe about, marketing themselves, or maybe about just snowboarding and being a competitive snowboarder. And you're also going to get news, and news that's not just past the, next 180 or the 1620. You are going to hear things about the adventure, the friendship, and you are going to hear about the experiences of doing what you love, which is snowboarding. Hit the purple button, subscribe him, rate us, hand the phone back, and say, "You're welcome."
Okay, so what were kind of some of the key things you learned as far as filming goes? Like, what were some of the key skills that you used then that maybe even you use today if you're filming something? Are there certain things, like common threads, that have tied through when you started filming that you've used through your entire career? Just get some career advice, let's say, for the
career advice
guy.
Is first thing, you want to be on the same page with your athletes, your riders. You want to be their best friend. You want to, be on the same team as them. Don't build a jump that's dangerous or icy or something that they're going to get hurt on. Build something that they're going to like, and just relate with them. If you're because I was an old pro snowboarder, and I turned into a filmer, so I already knew the aspects of photography and filming, because I used to be filmed and photographed. So that helped me out transferring over from a pro rider to a professional filmer.
Now, what's more important if you're a filmer doing these backcountry jumps and going into the backcountry? Is it more important to be a good filmer, a kind of a backcountry like trail boss leader type guy where you're kind of pulling the sleds out of the holes when they don't know how to ride them or whatever, or like a safety guy who kind of knows how to assess the situation? I mean, where's the balance between those different skills that you use when you're actually filming in the backcountry?
I think you have to have it all. If you don't have one, it's not going to help out. If you're not a safety person, you don't know the mountains, you don't know the snow conditions, the weather forecast, or the basic skills of how to ride a snowmobile, or let alone places to find jumps. You can be a good filmer, but if you don't know where to go to, you could be doing circles trying to find a jump and waste your only sunny day with 4 feet of fresh. That's what's good, is having the knowledge of where to go, the snow conditions, and picking the right cliff or the right jump. Because a lot of times you'll bring riders from Europe over to, like I did a lot of filming in Whistler backcountry, and these riders show up from Europe, and you take them out on a sled, and if you don't go to the right zone, you're going to be wasting, at the end of the day, you're not going to have footage. If you don't have footage, you don't have a video.
Right. So, like, how many days a year are you actually, like, in the backcountry or filming, traveling? Like, how many days are you, like, on the clock, let's say, as, like, a filmer for MacDog?
Well, probably, like 15 days a month, at least on the mountain somewhere, either doing a street shoot, doing handrails in New York or Midwest, Minnesota. You can be doing that for the first part of the winter, which I did a lot with the forum team. I'd film handrails, and then the last half of the season, say like late January, we'd transfer from filming handrails and to transferring over to the last part of the winter season, just doing backcountry. And I'm guessing maybe 100 days out of the year. But back in the early days, I used to work 9 months out of the year. I would, if you guys ever watched old MacDog movies, there was some of the videos had 40% Mount Hood summer footage, and that was like the bread and butter of people's video parts. Sometimes I would stay up to Timberline and build custom quarter pipes, a full pipe.
You were a terrain park builder as well.
Yeah. So I would, like summertime was a good thing back in the day to film video parts, which you wouldn't think of that nowadays. People could go up and get a video part from Mount Hood in the summer, but I would be working all summer long.
Yeah. So when did you create like the Heine slope tools? I think I remember seeing them like back when I was pretty young, so it must have been a long time ago. And you created like the rakes that everyone kind of used, and like the vert tools to cut the vert along the half pipe when they were hand dug. Yeah. How did that come about?
So back when they didn't have half pipe cutter machines like I forget what those names are, the Zog or whatever they were called back then, the half pipe machines.
Dragon first.
Yeah, Pipe Dragon was the first one. Yeah, you got me on that one. So they would either the way half pipes were made, they'd either pile up snow and hand shape the walls. But at Timberline, they would take a snowcat and dig a trench, like a box in the snow. So they would use regular garden shovels to shape the transitions. It would take a group of 30 people 2 days to shape out a full pipe at Timberline in the summer. And everybody would be hand shaping with these garden shovels, and they'd break and stuff because the snow was icy and stuff. So I designed these transition shovels and these vert cutter shovels that would actually make the job a lot easier, because you could shape the transition wall with a shovel from the top of the deck instead of having to stand on the wall with a short garden shovel. So back then everybody bought my rakes and shovels, and I had the very first snow rake and the very first transition shovel, and I had that for like 15 years before people started copying me now. So, but I had a good run at it. Heine Snow Tools did super good.
Are you still making those things?
I'm making the shovels and rakes still. I don't make as many as I used to, but the thing I make a lot now is winches, and I still do some handrails and stuff for local ski areas. Make their fun boxes and.
So do you have a welding shop as well? Because those were all like welded aluminum.
Yeah, I went to when I was in high school. I took welding classes, and I learned how to do that. Then when I got straight out of high school, when I was riding for Kemper, I worked full time as a welder too. So I already learned how to weld in high school. Then I got better at it when I had my job when I got out of high school. So then I learned all my skills from that job and transferred those skills into Heine Snow Tools.
Right. And so then that kind of evolved into making winches, creating the winch. Were you the first guy making the winch?
There were wakeboard winches, or wake surf winches back in like 10 years ago. And I wanted to make one for snowboarding, but make it twice as fast. So, and the wakeboard winches that we were using or renting or whatever, they would fall apart really quick, and they were super slow with no power. So I said to myself, I got to make a faster one. So I
V8,
yeah. So I found these bigger motors and figured out how to build a faster winch, and took out the governor in these motors so they go maximum speed. And the winches I make nowadays go like 55 miles an hour, so they'll pull the riders into pretty much anything. We can take this winch to some flat area or Minnesota and build a quarter pipe or a road gap, and you can get up to 55 miles an hour instantly with these winches.
Is there a clutch in it so you don't rip the arms out of your sockets?
Yeah, I have there's like a snowmobile clutch on them. Okay. Like it's sort of like a torque converter clutch type thing, and it has a motorcycle throttle on it, so you can ease into the speed, so it's not instant throttle. So
did you have to learn that the hard way? Or
it's either the first winch I made is either all or nothing on the throttle, and they pull the rope out of their hands. So I figured that out quite quick.
Cool. What's the coolest thing you've ever seen someone do with a winch? It's kind of a side.
I've seen Breezy do some gaps from building to building in cities, like 3 stories up.
I've seen some of those. Yeah.
And it's just cool, just because the coolest thing too I've seen is Jamie O'Brien, the surfer from Hawaii. He's like a pro surfer. He won the pipeline and stuff like that. He's a super good surfer, and he has a Red Bull series called GOB. And he bought a winch for me a couple years ago, and he's filmed a lot of his videos using my winch, and I see that all over his his Instagram.
Does he mount it on a boat? Where's the winch sitting when he's being pulled by the winch?
No, he mounts it like in lakes in Hawaii or out by the beach, and he does like a whole bunch of jackass type skits with the winch. It's pretty funny. So if you guys ever get a chance to go on YouTube and type in the JOB series Red Bull, and you can see him using the winch on a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So
you were never like kind of a one trick pony, because you're welding, fabricating stuff. You're coming up with new ideas and inventing kind of, new products. But then you're filming the best riders in the world. You're still trying to ride, but you have problems with your knees, so you can't focus on that. What was your favorite thing to do?
Favorite thing to do, as in snowboarding, or?
Yeah, I mean, just like of all the different projects you've worked on in snowboarding, what's like the favorite aspect?
Oh, back when I first started making handrails, it was cool making, like I made a spiral rail for I had my own film company from 2000 to 2005, and it's called Straight Jacket Films.
Yeah.
And I made a spiral handrail. It did almost a complete 360, but it went downhill. So I built that in my old house, and it was like in 3 or 4 different pieces, and I think it was like 20 feet tall, so I had to bring a welder up on the mountain, a timberline, and put this 3 or 4 pieces together, and the rider would jump on the handrail and go downhill but spiral at the same time, and he had to go back underneath this bridge I built. So it was pretty cool building that. And another rail I made that was cool back then was the roller coaster rail. It was like a double barrel pipe rail. It was 65 feet long, and it was pretty challenging for a lot of the riders. Like Jeff Anderson was hitting it, filming him, and Tom Gillis. And it was cool when I had my own film company. I could do anything I wanted. Like I did the full pipe. I was the first one to build a full pipe that actually worked. And Tom Gillis, the first one to ever do it on a snowboard. Actually, I think it was the first one ever on skis too, because Poor Boys was there, and the skier did it before the snowboarder did. Because when I built the full pipe, I had a ski company go in on the cost of building this full pipe.
Oh, like they split the
it was like
snow stuff with you.
Yeah, we built, the skiers helped dig it, and the snowboarders helped dig it, so it was like a joint thing. But the skiers got the full pipe quicker than the snowboarders. It was pretty difficult for the snowboarders to do the full pipe. Yeah,
I think there was a lot of compression, if I recall seeing it. Like you just got squashed into your board, basically, going around. Was Straight Jacket Films after Mac Dog? Were you not working with Mac Dog?
I was working for Mac Dog from 91 to 2000, and I started my own company. Then I did that from 2000 to 2005, and I got out of filming my own videos when I realized it was the money to selling videos and DVDs wasn't paying the bills anymore, because people are downloading stuff for free, and the whole music industry, you can't buy you don't make money off CD sales anymore. Same thing with DVDs, and so I got out of filming movies.
Yeah, so Andy Ray, I talked to him earlier, and he's a big fan of yours, by the way. And he wanted you to set the record straight for why you left Mac Dog, or how that came to an end.
Record straight is it's sort of an embarrassing thing. Me and Ville got into me and Ville Lumina were traveling together for like years, and something happened in our motel room, and he got under my skin, and we sort of got in a little scuffle, and Mac Dog didn't like that, so he said, "Kurt, you got to go." I'm
guessing that you probably kicked his ass.
No, I didn't kick his ass. It wasn't.
He was pretty athletic, though.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a fight. It was more of just like a little scuffle that lasted 1 second, and it's like what he did to me was not cool at all. And I said that doesn't fly with me. And it's like he had it coming, and what I did, but Mac Dog didn't see it that way. So
you went your separate ways.
Separate ways, and he didn't understand the story, but. It wasn't that big of a deal, but Mac Dog was a super.
Were you cool with Willie after that?
Oh yeah, we're friends right after that. It's like it was just when you travel with somebody every day, you're with them 24 hours a day.
It's like your brothers.
Yeah,
almost.
it's like almost. I mean, I don't really want to tell you what exactly happened because it's sort of embarrassing, but it's just a situation that happens, and it literally wasn't that big of a deal in my eyes. And Billy probably doesn't think it's that big a deal, but Mac Dog liked the clean cut image, or Dogger, and so actually it's the first time I ever heard anybody ask me that story. I didn't even know Andy even that's pretty cool that somebody else knows about that story.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess he wasn't sure how that came about, but then you started, and back then it seems like it went from something that was just kind of like organic in the beginning of like 91, let's say, when you started filming like Dave Lee and Schlosser at Hood. They had those huge airs and Upping the Ante, or maybe it was even it wasn't New Kids on the Pocahontas or Upping the Ante, something like that. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty organic back then. And it seems like it got pretty serious by 2000. It was like you really had to take everything very seriously. It seems like that was kind of a transition as far as the athletes go, from like guys partying the night before the contest to guys working out, stretching, and taking it very seriously. What was it like kind of being the guy who's following around those athletes during that transition?
Yeah, it went from being, because back then you didn't have to go that big on a snowboard to be sponsored. You didn't have to be. Most people, actually, I don't know anybody that really trained. The only way they trained is if they did their surfing or their mountain biking just for fun. They didn't really go to the gym or anything back then. Mm-hmm. Nobody I know of. But what's the question again? I'm sorry.
What was it like, just like filming the best riders in the world during this transition from when it was like really kind of just fun, skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding, that was your training, to the time when it was like...
Yeah, it seems like the riders got, either they took their job a little bit more serious or they got let go. I probably saw 4 or 5 different generations of groups come and go. Like you see guys that they rode good during their prime between the ages of 18 and 23, and they were landing everything, and then they went downhill quick. If you didn't take care of yourself and practice or take your job seriously, the sponsors aren't going to be there for you. I saw, not to name names, but I saw people that didn't take their amazing dream job seriously, and then they would lose it. It's like if you want to progress and stay in the sport, you take your job a little seriously. Yeah. I mean, sure, it's fun to snowboard and it's fun to film and fun to that, but if you don't, treat it as a job, sometimes it's gonna come back and you're gonna be trying to find a job outside of snowboarding.
Right. It's like if your job title is professional athlete, you might want to mirror other professional athletes out there. And what do all professional athletes have in common? Well, they take it very seriously. They train. They try to not be on the sidelines injured for a majority of the time. And I imagine, as people started going bigger and bigger, the injuries started happening with more frequency and they were harder to recover from. What do you see any kind of like secret that like a guy like Terrier or Jamie Lynn or Brian Iguchi, that these guys have that like the other guys didn't have, that allowed them to kind of make a whole career out of snowboarding? Like, how did they approach it differently than guys who were like kind of your flash in the pan here and gone?
That's a good question. I think it's mainly they take care of their body, they eat good, they have fun with, they love the snowboarding to begin with. No matter if they have to go out and do a photo shoot or a contest and they don't want to do it, but they still have fun. They make the best of their moment. And I think staying healthy, keeping fit, training, exercising. I mean, like, look at Devin Walsh. How old is he? And he still kills it on a snowboard. He takes care of himself. Sure, he goes out and maybe gets drunk here and there or whatever. Some of those crazy parties they throw.
I don't know what happens in Canada. What happens in Canada stays in Canada, right?
Yeah, but it's just like Terry still kills it. I was up at the rat race up there, and he just has the best style. And you've seen a lot of people come and go in the last 30 years, and he's still up there getting paid, and he's loving his job. It's like, who else? Like, I can name names, but I don't know. There's some of the people I filmed in the early 90s, in the late 90s. Where are those guys at now? Why aren't they the same as Terrier? Why aren't they the same as... I mean, look at JP Walker. He's still making a living. Yeah. Sure, he's probably not the best new school guy, but he knows how to work and still have fun snowboarding and satisfy his sponsors,
Hey folks, if you're tuning in to us still, please take a minute to go to Patreon.
Wait.
What?
Is there like some question that they wouldn't still be tuning in?
Well, if they're still listening, they can go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project.
But you're still staying still.
Still.
Like they
Might
not
have
have
just
even
listened
made
to
it
the
this
first
far.
5 minutes. Yeah, they
Okay.
might not have made it this far. So.
Okay.
But I just want, if you're still listening, okay, if you're listening, go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project, and we're going to count on you guys to support an independent voice in snowboarding media. It's how we're going to keep this thing advertising free and have a voice that is not affected by the advertisers. So did you ever have like tough conversations with like a guy who was like in the movie, had a good video part or whatever, and then he either lost a sponsor or something happened and he's calling you directly being like, hey, can we go film? And you're kind of like, that's not really, I have to go on a trip with, with the Burton team or some other guys that like I'm getting paid to film.
I had one of my, almost exactly what you're trying to ask, but I had a good friend of mine that got sponsored by Forum, and he was a partier and all this stuff. He never showed up to any photo shoots. I go, dude, Forum's paying for you to come here. Forum's going to give you more chance to go further and get paid more. He would never show up to photo shoots. He would never show up, and he lost his job just like that. But I totally lost track of what you're asking.
Well, I was just wondering if there were like guys who were like trying, they realized what they had too late, basically. They realized, like in hindsight, after they lost their sponsor, they lost their ability to film with you, that they were like, oh man, I kind of blew it. I need another chance. And it's like, well, maybe there are no second chances. Yeah, right? You got your chance, and that's something that like only one out of like 1,000 kids gets, or 5,000 kids get. So
yeah, that's happened quite a few times. There's some riders on the Forum team that they had potential to do so good that they just dropped the ball. It's like, really, you're going to go out and do this, but you're pissing off your sponsors. And they lost their jobs so quick. It's crazy. It's like, I don't know. They look back at it and they wish they would have taken care of themselves back then, instead of going out and getting drunk and going to think they're a hip hop soldier and they wanted to be a rap singer. I mean, not to name names, but it's good times. I mean, there's some good times and bad times, but for the most part, all those days of filming were some of the best memories ever.
Did anyone get sent home for bad behavior from one of those trips?
I've been on with these younger guys. The team manager would come along because I was sick of babysitting. These younger guys would go to Europe or Finland to go film, and I had a couple of riders that would go out to the bar, and was to film early in the morning. They'd go out to the bar drunk, come home drunk. They would come into my room. Later in my life filming, I had to have my own room because sometimes it's too much. Too much having a younger guy wanting to stay up and party all night in my room. So he'd come sneak in my room. He went in my refrigerator and took all the little shots of whiskey and bottles of wine out of my refrigerator. The next day, the team manager found out and put him on the next flight home from Finland. It was the craziest drama thing ever. It was like, there's quite a few of the riders that I worked with were full on alcoholics. They were like, had an alcohol problem. It was crazy.
Okay, well, we're talking about that. I mean, here's like a serious question, and I've asked a bunch of people this, which is like, okay, so you're a top level snowboarder. You get injured, right? That's like part of the game. Are there a lot of guys who are like addicted to like opiates or whatever because they get on pain pills because they're nursing a knee or they're nursing injury, and then they have a hard time getting off? I mean, I think that you're kind of always tempting fate as a professional athlete and dealing with injuries, dealing with like, just addiction, really.
I don't think that was a problem back when I was filming. I probably would have known that, but I think it's probably more of a problem nowadays. But back when I was filming, because I quit filming in 2015, and I didn't see any drug problem. It's more of just alcohol.
Right.
Alcohol was
because that's part of the culture. It's like you go on fall tour, and all these kids, you come to their shop, and they're like, they want to show you the best time ever. Yeah. Then the next night, you go to the next shop, and those guys want to show you the best time ever. Is that kind of where it stems from, or is it just kind of party atmosphere?
It's just a party atmosphere. They're away from home. They have a travel budget. We can go out and eat anywhere we want. We just give them the receipts. Send you go off track here, man. The cool thing is about when I worked for a forum or whatever, you'd have a endless travel budget. So if we fly somewhere, we can go to the nicest restaurant. Just send the boss your receipt every month, and you get reimbursed for it. So these guys will go out and just get hammered, and we have to film the next morning. It wasn't a good thing to have an endless budget. And
yeah.
Well, here's a crazy story. You want to hear about spending some money? We went over to Sweden, and there was like 5 guys on the trip doing a handrail session there. I went over there and I came in late to the film session. And I got there and I go, "Where you guys staying?" They're staying at the most expensive motel. It was like $300 or $400 a night per room. We had like 5 rooms. And they said they've already spent like $100,000 in expenses in a month. I was like, "Whoa. Really?" I was like, that is crazy. I don't know how you guys are going to get away with it. The team manager's going to flip out when you send them that bill. And we got away with it. It's like, no wonder those companies went out of business. How can you recoup that money if you're spending $100,000 a month just between 5 riders?
It doesn't happen that way anymore, does it? Wow, that's pretty crazy. So, okay, so you do straitjacket films for a while. I remember Tom Gillis kind of had some nice parts there. He was also a good guy. What was that like, starting your own business? First you're working for Mac Dog, you just have to film, and then you send the film in, he develops it and processes it, transfers it or whatever. And then what was it like having to take on all of the responsibility of like a film company, distribution, editing, all of that stuff? What was that transition like?
That was a scary transitioning from Mac Dog to straitjacket, because like you said, when I filmed for Mac Dog, I just give them the footage every week or every month, and that's the only thing I had to do. I didn't have to edit, didn't have to do anything. So it was nice. But then when I started Straitjacket Films, my girlfriend at that time helped run the business. So we had to go out and find sponsors every summer. Mm-hmm. In between the seasons. We'd find enough sponsors to pay for the production of the movie. And the production of the movie back then was a lot more than it is now, because it was all film.
Right, like 16 millimeter.
16 millimeter film.
Yeah.
So the film was like $300 for 3 minutes to get it transferred, and the cost of the 3-minute film.
Right, like one videotape or one card now costs you what? How much is a good card cost?
$20.
$20 for a card, and that'll give you how much? Endless amount of footage, right? Yeah. And so it was like for 3 minutes of actually filming tricks, that was
$300.
$300. Yeah. So how much would you film in a season? Like how many minutes of film?
I would film probably 100 rolls, 200 rolls, and the rolls were $35 to $50 a roll. And sometimes I'd film a roll of film. If like a roll of film is only 3 minutes long, and if I didn't have a good shot in there, I wouldn't even get it developed. So I just throw that roll away on the hill. But back to the thing is getting sponsors. I'd have to find out it cost about $150,000 to make a movie. So we'd have to call Burden or whoever that was sponsoring the movie that year. We have to go, okay, we need $50,000 from this sponsor. We need $25,000 from this binding sponsor, $25,000 from his clothing sponsor, or sometimes we try to get out of the industry sponsors, which would be nicer. But yeah, so every year we get $150,000 just to make one straitjacket video.
And that's with no profit. That's just like to cover the cost.
That's to cover the filmer's cost, the travel expenses, my rent, and just the normal living, and pay for that. And then we make our money off the video sales. And like in 2005, the last movie I made, I went from making $150,000 a year making Unleashed profit to making $30,000 in 2005 on my last video. So it went from.
Why did that change? Like what changed because I know there was like kind of like digital was coming up, video distribution was kind of like, I don't know, was it reliable the way the distribution worked back then?
No, I think the whole industry, like just like I said, like the musicians selling CDs weren't making any more money either, because people would download them, copy them, get them off YouTube, get them off the internet for free, steal them. Same thing that happened with making videos. People would steal copy the video, and they wouldn't have to buy it or whatever.
Mass piracy.
Yeah. So I missed the days of every winter at the beginning of the season, September, going to a premiere, buying the DVD or VHS or whatever, and watching a full length half an hour long video, and then watching Instagram or whatever, Facebook edits or whatever, just to see somebody's 3-minute clip every week or every day. Or
I mean, the clips are coming out like 3 a day now, right?
Yeah.
It's just like crazy, but it doesn't cost anything. And I think maybe, I mean, how do you feel about that? The fact that like it used to be there were a handful of videos, which meant there was like, okay, multiply that by 15 riders a video or something, or however many video parts there are. And so there were really only like, let's say 40 riders getting, video parts or being recognized by the entire industry. And today it's like there are hundreds of guys with 3-minute clips or like putting out clips all the time, and yet nobody gets paid. Is that like a function of it's just been diluted, or what do you see that? Like why did that happen?
I don't know. I think it's just because like I come back to why I quit making movies for myself. It's just that the footage is free and available to anybody. But yeah, I just think the whole feeling of watching a video part is lost it for me. Like it's like you can get instant gratification when you open your phone and look on somebody's Instagram clip. Like I go on there and watch Marcus Cleveland's edits are just amazing. Like you watch his little
gimbal god. Is crazy.
It's like you can just watch the stuff they film every day. I'm like, it would be nice. There's still people making really good movies out there, like Absence making super good movies.
Yeah,
there's a couple other film companies making it, but I miss the days of the 5 big companies making the videos, and everybody owns that DVD, and they just get stoked at the beginning of the year.
Okay, so let's roll back to Straight Jacket Films. After that ended, what did you do? You didn't stop filming.
No, I went back to. I filmed for a Forum in the late, because Forum, MacDog was part of the owner of Forum back when Forum was going, so. We made some Forum movies and MacDog movies in the late 90s. So then when I quit working for MacDog, I did my own thing from 2000, 2005. So then I went back to Forum after that. Then I did some stuff for Poor Boys ski film companies for a year. Then I did the Forum thing all the way up to 2015.
What was it like being a snowboarder your whole life, and like, well, since you were on like straight skis looking down off the lift to working with like the best skiers in the world? Was it different working with skiers and snowboarders?
I didn't know the grabs, and I didn't know if the worst thing about it is I'd see skiers land on their back going off a huge cliff or a jump, and I would look at the other skier that was with me and I go, is that a land or is that not a land? I'm being serious about this. It's like, is it considered a stomp if they land on their back, but they stand up after they land on their back? And it was sort of weird, but I did work with some amazing talent. I worked a couple times with Tanner Hall and Candy Tovac.
Yeah.
And I have mad respect for some of those guys. They can go so much bigger than a lot of snowboarders and land some crazy stuff, and they're super professional. It was totally different. Going from filming snowboarders most of my life to filming skiers was the weirdest transition ever. It was like I didn't know what was good, what was bad, what it was like, It must have not been that great though, because you didn't stick with it. No. I went back to snowboarding, so yeah. I did that for a year. I worked with a good friend from Poor Boys Productions, and we got along good and filmed for his movie for a year, and then I went back to filming Forum all the way up to 2014. Or actually, I don't know when did Forum go out of business.
I'm not sure.
12, 13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Then I did work with John Jackson. Called me and asked me to do his X Games Real Snow Backcountry. And filmed him for a year, and when we had a competition with 5 other teams, but it was like a contest where you get judged on the filming and writing. So luckily we got first place and got a gold medal, and that was really cool to get voted the best video.
You ever go get your mail wearing the gold medal from X Games or anything like that?
The first couple of weeks I showed it off to a couple of friends, but it's pretty cool to have that though. Not too many people can say they have a X Games with gold medal.
Yeah, I see it right there. It's in your living room here. That's really cool. You got another award there. What's that?
Yeah, I think it's a Trans World Best Movie in 2011.
Yeah. What movie was that for?
Actually, I'm not sure. It's some foreign movie. Yeah. But yeah, we got voted the best movie that year.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool because back then I wouldn't edit. So when I filmed, I think it was Jeremy Pettit edited that movie. Super good at editing.
Mm-hmm. So it was both rewarding and awarding.
Yeah.
That's cool. So then you kind of stopped filming though. Why did you go away from filming?
I was sort of getting burned out after Forum went out of business, because I was doing good with Forum. I thought I was going to retire from Forum. I thought I would film for Forum as long as I could. I thought they wouldn't. I didn't see them ever going out of business. Then I think it was, I'm not sure, like 2012, 2013, 14. I'm not sure when they went out of business, but one day we got a phone call. They let the whole team go. All the people in the office, team managers, everybody's gone. And
were you on salary?
Yeah, I was on salary, so it was nice getting paid year round. So and it was a good job, and it was good job security. And all of a sudden they went out of business, and I went did the real snow thing after that, and milked out the filming for a couple more years, and sort of got burned out on the whole snowboarding thing, traveling, and just wanted to take a break from it. And I ended up getting married 3 years ago, so then I didn't want to be away from my wife all the time, so I decided to take a break from it a couple years. So
cool.
I'm going to try to get back into it in the next couple of years, see if there's any money out there, or if anybody's looking for anybody out there looking for an old filmer. I know how to film still.
Yeah. Well, I think that, there's a lot of aspects to filming. It's not just really the filming. It's also kind of like you got to sell yourself. And that's a whole different aspect of it that doesn't necessarily go with the creativity, the backcountry leadership, and all the other aspects of filming. It's like that's a whole separate thing. It's like just getting the jobs lined up, And I can see that being like one of the most challenging things today. But that said, it's like, with the amount of experience you have, you can't unlearn that, after all these years. It's like, you know how to frame a shot, you know how to get to a location, you know how to ride a snowmobile.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If there's somebody out there that wants to make a team video or has but I just don't think the money's out there like it used to be. So it's sort of if you have a job filming snowboarding, you're doing good, and it's lucky. I think it's like either super good filmer or just be at the right time, right place.
Yeah. So let me ask you this about being a filmer: is how much of it is like, how much are you like a coach to the athletes, where you're kind of pushing them to go further, higher, faster, and how much of it is just kind of you're there setting up, doing your thing, making sure you get the shot?
I think more when I first started, I was more of a coach because I was still writing back then, and I would help push him to build a jump bigger or have a bigger gap or design something that's next level, cutting edge jump. Like just like I do build a gap jumps and stuff, and they were 150 feet across. But yeah, nowadays
you got it, bro.
You got it. Send it
flat.
But there's one thing is changes the subject here is when I film with Travis Rice, those guys, he'll do things that I would always want to talk him out of it, but I keep my mouth shut. I don't want to put anything negative. It's like when I filmed with Travis a few times when I helped him for his Red Bull Brain Farm movies, is his mindset on doing things is way above me when I was a teenager. Like I was crazy when I was a teenager. I'd hit anything, but the stuff he does is like so next level. When I see him, it's like watching a video game. It's like I filmed him in Alaska a couple of times, and I'd be at the bottom of the valley with his big lens filming him, and he would come down, and it was like in awe. I was like, this guy is just next level. It's just It's like watching the best movie through the lens when I was filming it. It's like it was a treat for me to be able to film with him, and it's just that whole Travis Rice. What you see in the videos is 10 times better in person.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Beav, sitting here with Sully in a room just talking about snowboarding. If you can believe it, we're just a couple guys with a couple microphones. The idea really was to make a podcast for the people by a couple snowboarders, and that's us. But in turn, we need you to help us out. Go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project, and just for like a couple bucks, maybe the cost of a beer, you can help us keep creating these shows. This month, we have so much good content for you. We have Torgeir, we have Nate Holland, we have Dave Schreiber, Kurt Heine. We have all these people in the industry, and these are interviews for you so that you can go listen to them and learn something about the industry that you are directly a part of. We want to keep creating them for you. So if you can help us out, 1, share our podcast. 2, potentially donate to our podcast. 3, rate our podcast. And 4, keep listening to our podcast, because the more of those things that we get, the more we can keep creating, the more cool ideas we can start tackling, and the more great stories we can keep bringing to you. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of that. Patreon.com/the Snowboard Project.
Right. Did you ever have like moments of disbelief, or like, I can't really believe that I just saw that. I can't believe I filmed that.
Yeah, like Travis and John Jackson is like, they're freaks. Like like John will come to, like, we're in Montana one year, and he came down the chute, and he didn't realize how big of the chute had like a dead end in it. It had rocks in the middle of it, and he had to jump from this one part of the snow over all these rocks to the bottom of the chute where there's more snow to transfer. He came down the chute, and he got to a dead end, and he's like, this is way too big for me. And he can't hike back out. It was too steep and too sketchy, and avalanche conditions weren't so safe that day. But he got back on his board, and I was all by myself. It was getting dark over in the backcountry, and he jumped over this thing, and I was shaking. Like, after he stomped it, and it was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's like, dude, mad props to you. It's just days like that when you get to experience him and Mother Nature just in a snowboard standing over some death gap to rocks. He could have killed himself, and it was just having that experience and being behind the camera and filming it was just a privilege to me.
Yeah. So what were the top 3 moments that you filmed? Because you filmed like everything basically. So like, what are like the 3 top moments of filming? Obviously that could be one of them, you know?
Yeah, I think I had a good moment is filming Travis in Alaska, like I just mentioned, and that's a tough one. I think being the first one to film the full pipe, because when we made the full pipe at Timberline, or the loop, the first one we built, we're digging the center out of the loops for the full pipe, and the thing caved in on my girlfriend at the time, and all this ice came down on her. She was buried in 5 feet of ice, and it broke her back, and it was super bad. It buried her, and we had to dig her out, and she broke her back. I had to take her to the hospital. She got to the hospital. She's all right. And like a week later, as stubborn as I am, I built another one. So the next one I built, I put this steel I-beam in the top of the ceiling to support the snow so it wouldn't cave in. But that was a highlight, because it's something I've always wanted to do. It's sort of like a circus trick in snowboarding, but that was a cool achievement for me. And
it took a lot of determination to see that all the way, especially in light of what happened, to see that all the way through to completion.
And it was a lot of pressure on Tom Gillis, because we spent weeks and months planning this loop, and he was having a hard time getting it. It took him like 30 tries to get it. It was super dangerous. And he finally got the full pipe loop, and we're super stoked. It was like a huge highlight. And that was back in like 2000 when I filmed Unleashed. So if anybody out there, you go on YouTube and maybe
it's got to be there, right? Everything else is
type
there.
It. It's like some crazy little features. I made a lot of weird stuff in that movie.
Cool. But you're still a snowboarder today. I bought a snowboard from you, actually. So you're a vintage snowboard collector. Yeah. I know that. I bought an Emma Peel from you a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember that, but I have a Generation 1 Emma Peel. So you collect snowboards. You're still out there on the mountain all the time. You haven't lost your passion for it.
No, I actually got it back. When I quit filming, I sort of burned out on snowboarding a little bit. So I took a year off from it, and now I got the bug and the excitement to snowboard again. I get really stoked to ride all the new equipment that everybody's making, all the new snowboards, and it's like this new passion of me is riding all the new equipment. So that keeps me, and I taught my wife how to snowboard, and she loves snowboarding. So it's nice to go out and see her enjoy powder riding snowboards. And I took my addiction to riding all these different snowboards and I give them to her. So she's always testing all the new boards, and along with me, it's pretty fun.
So do you collect old vintage boards as well?
Yeah, I at one time I had 150 super rare vintage boards. I had a super bad addiction for 3 years. I collecting snowboards. I'd go to all the thrift stores, the Goodwills, and buy and sell boards just to get a better model that I like. So I was really into collecting the early 90s boards like Noah Selaznick and Palmer's and Matt Cummins Lip Tech boards. I really think owning those old boards would bring back cool memories from the old videos and stuff.
Yeah. So do you still have those, or have you?
I sold quite a few. I had a couple of surgeries a couple years ago, and I had to sell a few of them, but I still got like 15 or 20 of them.
Yeah. So what's your favorite? Like top 3 boards?
My top 3 boards, hands down, are the Lip Tech Rad Rick Matt Cummins board, and
I got one of those,
and that's one of my top favorites. And the Palmer Clown series. I have the Baby Pimp, the Disco Pimp, and I forget the other one, the Clown.
Yeah,
I have I have 3 of those, and I have a 4th one just to show the flag. So it has the American flag on the bottom.
Yeah,
those are my favorites, and I have a couple of my old Kempers.
Cool.
That's pretty much all I have left.
And now you got a new Kemper, right? Now Kemper's being reissued. I saw a video clip the other day of you riding Hood like last week or something.
Yeah, Kemper went out of business in the mid '90s, and this guy named Jib Hunt bought the rights to the Kemper name, and for this next 2018-19 season, he's reissuing the old graphics on new school shapes. And I saw it on Facebook. He has them, and I called him up. And since I used to be on the team, he sent me one of the first boards off the press, and I've been riding it at Mount Hood all summer. Loving the thing.
Cool. And you still do Heine slope tools? You still do the winch?
Yeah, I'm making winches right now for another guy in Hawaii that's using it for skimboarding and wake surfing and stuff like that. And
well, where can people find out about these winches? What's your website for
that? It's HeineSnowTools.com.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to check out old pictures of my handrails and my winch designs, you can just go there and check out some of the stuff I made. It's pretty cool. It shows a lot of different things on there. Okay,
so with all this hindsight, and kids want to kind of follow in your footsteps, be a filmer of pro riders, what kind of piece of advice do you have for kids who want to kind of do what you did, as far as like, filming the best riders in the world? Because you certainly did that.
Yeah, I think this is have the passion for filming and the sport that is like, if you want to film skateboarding or snowboarding or whatever you want to do, have the passion for it and go find a friend that's super good at the sport or loves doing it. Go out and follow cam them, go out and film them on everything, submit the footage to one of their potential sponsors, or put YouTube videos out there. Like, only way you're going to get good at filming is just go out and film everything. I mean, go to a contest, film some pro riders competing or whatever. That's how I got into filming. Just show up at an event and film everybody. And
you got hurt, and then you picked up a camera. So be a pro rider. That doesn't work out. You're going to be hurt because it didn't work out. Yeah. And so pick up a camera and film your friends.
Yeah, I think what got me into getting recognized as being a good filmer is doing a lot of follow cams. And I did that. That was my main thing back when I filmed is try to follow cam as much as I can. Not every shot's a follow camable shot. Sometimes you have to do a tripod shots. But just want to say, change the subject, is a gimbal god. I don't know his name, but his footage is next level. It's like when I watch his Instagram stuff, I've always dreamt of front follow. Sorry, it's not a follow. It's filming from lead follow.
Yeah,
not lead follow. Filming from in front.
Yeah.
So his stuff of being in front, going off jumps is next level. And so if anybody has Instagram, go search his Gimbal God and watch his edits. They're next level. Big props to him.
Yeah. So what are you going to be doing like 10 years from now? You still going to be riding? Still involved with
I hope so. Eventually I have to get my knee replaced because my knee's bone on bone right now, my back leg. So, but I'm putting that off. So, but I'm going to snowboard until I can't do anymore and enjoy it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, Kurt Heine. This has been great talking to you, and I learned a lot just sitting here and hearing your stories of the glory days of snowboarding and the apex of filmmaking and snowboarding, really.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mark. I appreciate you doing this. I can't wait to hear all the other interviews you have with all the new and old people out there. It's going to be good podcast series. I'm super excited to hear everybody else's.
On behalf of Mark Sullivan and the Beav, thanks for listening to the Snowboard Project. Remember, ride fast, take chances, dream big, and take action. And for God's sake, don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Man like Mark Sullivan, worry yourself. Stay tuned for the thrilling episode. Woo!
A positive mental attitude can clear away all obstacles which stand between you and your major purpose in life.
This is the Snowboard Project featuring Mark Sullivan and the Beav. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.
Welcome back to the Snowboard Project. I'm Mark Sullivan.
And I am the Beav, and we are coming at you live from the Snowboard Project studios at the Hot Water Inn in Ketchum, Idaho.
I knew you were going to do that.
Come on, you say this every
Okay,
time.
okay,
We
let's
may as
go.
well. We may as well.
Yeah,
in
okay.
Sun Valley, Idaho, out here.
Yep.
And it snowed this week.
It did, and I think we got about 10 inches.
Whoa there. Fake news.
Okay, that brings up a good point, right?
I think that's a great point.
Yeah,
Yes, we were
yeah.
going to talk about this.
Yeah.
What was it? It was like number 41, snow totals.
Oh, snow total. So
Yeah.
it's like the fishtail
Right.
of snowfalls
Right.
that resorts seem to perpetuate
Yes.
across the interweb machine.
Yep.
Right. And so it's basically like, okay, we actually got about 3 to 4 inches.
Yeah, we got 3 to 4 inches.
And then you called me up and you're like, dude, I heard we got like 6 inches. And I'm like, oh no, that was 10 inches.
No, I called you up and I said, I think there's 4 or 5 inches. And you said, no, that's 11 inches.
Right. On the internet.
Yeah.
If you read it on the internet, it says 11, but really it's 4 to 5.
Right, but you can do the math. It's kind of like that, dividing every guy's conquest by 3.
Right.
You can basically do that for like a ski hill
it's
as well.
It's like converting like inches to, or like Fahrenheit to Celsius, like double it and add 30.
Right.
Yeah, I went 4 days in a row.
You
like,
did.
Yeah, from opening day all the way through the weekend. Went out with my kids, went out with you, Beav. We had a great time.
Dude, I
thought.
had a great time. It was really
Yeah.
fun getting up there and just obviously just making some early season turns,
Yeah.
And we ended up over in like a mini park and, hitting some jumps with like the boys,
That
which
was pretty fun. I got my
right?
first methods of the season on, got my first jibs.
Right.
First jibbing of the season, of the new year. So that was fun.
I did I did some follow camming with a microphone. I've always been, follow camming with a,
Right,
with a
and that'll
camera.
be coming up in this show. I guess we're going to have some sounds from the mountain live.
Right.
From the mountain.
The follow camming with a microphone I found doesn't really work as well. So anyway.
Right, okay.
All right. Let's move on. What do we have in the world of snowboarding this week, Mark Sullivan?
Okay, well, I would say the biggest thing that happened anyway in the last week was probably the air and style in Beijing, China. It happened in the bird's nest.
Right.
So tell me 3 things about the air and style, Beav.
Okay, I will admit I tried to do some real deep dive research on this.
Right. How deep did you dive? Pretty shallow pool, wasn't it?
There was there's a pretty shallow pool. So I'm going to go. One interesting thing is full media blackout. Aside from whoever smuggled in their phones to give, a 15-second Instagram video or whatever.
Right.
And
so
which I find just absolutely crazy. Like I couldn't really find too much other than like some results and a couple videos. There wasn't a lot. The other interesting thing is they build a massive jump out of scaffolding.
Right.
In the middle of the Olympic Stadium? Is that where they
the
did
bird's nest is what that's called. Like the opening ceremony stadium. It's crazy looking venue.
Crazy.
For sure.
That image that you see, like it's like shot from the air looking down on the venue with it like poking out of the top of the stadium.
Right.
Pretty impressive, right?
It was a very impressive scaffolding type jump setup.
Scaffolding type jump setup. And I think the third impressive thing was that it was in like communist China.
It's not communist anymore.
Is it not?
No, I don't think so. They have capitalism over there now too. That's why everything we have in America is made in China.
Okay, so there's 3 things that I can think of, but
all right, what are 3-ish things?
What are 3 things that you find interesting?
Okay, Shaun White was there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, it was an FIS World Cup big air event.
Oh no, it wasn't.
It was
FIS.
It was.
Okay, all right.
And let's see, a third fun fact. The Chinese guys in the corral right in front of the podium thought it was crazy how much champagne they were spraying. You're supposed to drink the champagne, not spray it. I don't know if that's like international tradition or how that works.
I just have this like image of these little Chinamen running around with teacups trying to catch each little like.
No, I saw this like clip on Shaun White's Instagram because that's one of the only places we could get coverage of it was actually Shaun White's Instagram.
Right.
Maybe he's just trying to build his fan base.
Sure.
Right, but I mean, look what other cool things I'm doing.
So wait, if it's not being like televised in the state, like where are we going to see this thing, or is it just
okay? Here's what you're going to do, Beav.
Okay.
So you're gonna first of all you're gonna get your time machine. You're gonna go back 3 days in time. Then you're gonna buy a plane ticket to Austria.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing this.
Okay, and then you're gonna fly to Austria, and then you're gonna get a hotel room, and then turn on your TV. That's where you're gonna see it.
Oh, okay. So it was televised in Austria?
I think Austria, France, and maybe like one or two other countries.
Oh.
China maybe. I don't know. But it was televised in a couple of places, just not in North America. So basically we could only see it on Instagram.
Dude, time out. So this is just asinine to me because they spend all this money building this massive
a ton of money. It's
just like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And there are these sponsors and everything, and then they put it out across Europe and nothing to the United States. They probably televised it in China and Japan and some other places.
Well, I mean, we didn't have a ton of American competitors in there. Chris Corning was, I believe, our top American. But really, it was kind of a story of two different spins out of 3 jumps. So, yeah, but okay, wait. America, we invent, I don't know, baseball, basketball, snowboarding, hot dogs. I mean, like, snowboarding is as American as hot dogs here and baseball, and we don't get a chance to see it anymore. Right. If skiing is French, then snowboarding is American. Okay, so tell me who won it and with what. Okay, so there was the winner was a Swedish rider, Sven Thorgren, and he did basically a frontside triple 14, backside triple 14, same kind of triple 14s we've been seeing across the world, across big air competitions, across the Olympics. Sounded a little uninterested by this fact. You know what? I mean, honestly, it's like I was just like, wow, I've seen this, and like, kind of my eyes rolled back into my head for a second there because it's like there is nothing interesting about these tricks. It's just the same stuff we've seen like all over the world, and honestly, like you're not going to see actually like the cutting edge progression on these scaffolding type jumps because usually it's like the snow is made out of basically blocks of ice that go through a chipper shredder or like one of those like tree shredders or whatever, and so it's actually like not the best surface to be snowboarding on, and so generally you won't see the progression happen on those jumps. But I guess it was an opportunity for aspiring Chinese athletes to see snowboarding firsthand. Okay. In Beijing. Right. Yeah, I saw the lineup. There was definitely not a lot of like names that I recognized. There were a lot of like Europeans. There were some good ones. And there were definitely some good ones. Yeah, Chris Corning was there. Sven Thorgren was there. Atsuka, what's his name? Takeru Atsuka. Cleveland was there. Yeah, Marcus Cleveland. And he that was the best clip I saw was Marcus Cleveland. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would almost go as far as to say it's like who's on drugs this week? Marcus Cleveland. Yeah. And the reason why is because he did a nollie double 9. I'm not sure how that scored, but man, I had to watch that clip over and over and over again. That was really the only clip that caught my interest out of the whole event. As far as like the riding. Out of the 8 clips that we could actually find on the event. And then they had like the finals coming up, and I was like searching so I could see the event live. I was actually up at 3:30 in the morning on Saturday when it was happening live, so I'm like, where can I tune in? Nowhere. Sure. Right. And but yeah, there was like a bunch of triple 14s. Anna Gasser did a double 10. She won the women's side. Yeah, she won for the women. And she didn't want to roll out her triple in that situation, huh? No, I don't think those conditions really warrant it. You know, I mean, honestly, it's like she did it on a pretty difficult jump, really. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe Stubai. Were you telling me? And I thought that was funny. You said someone asked the question like, "Who won air in style Beijing?" And someone was like, "Air." That's right. It wasn't the style. It was the air. Yep. There was air going on. Which is a great point. Are we just like, I mean, Marcus Cleveland, he had a very
stylish, cool, different trick. And
yeah, I mean, I would say that like that was definitely the highlight for me was the Nollie Dub 9. That Marcus Cleveland did, but it brings up a good point. It's like that actually would fall into air and style.
Right.
And it used to be, and we talked about this in the Torge Bergrum interview.
Right.
But how the air and style used to be, like you had to do one style trick and then one technical trick, right? And the style trick, that's a crowd pleaser. And then the technical trick, well, that just shows that you're at the cutting edge, of the sport.
Right.
And so I think it's almost regressed. It's taking a step backwards because doing like two different spins of like the most technical tricks, it just is kind of boring to watch when everyone is doing triple 14s.
You know what? I kind of miss the, like the quarter pipe at the Arctic Challenge. Like you could, do a big trick and then hit the quarter pipe, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty cool and different event.
Right.
And I think we're going to start seeing a resurgence of like different unique events. I think that when you watch these big air, especially the big air, slope style is pretty interesting because you get 3 jumps, three jibs, and so you get like a variety of maneuvers. But with these big airs, it is just like not that interesting if you're a snowboarder, and especially because of the disconnection between the cutting edge of trick progression and just the recreational riders who are out there who are like, I'll never do a 14, let alone a triple, let alone a triple and a 14.
So can I put you on the spot right now and say, like, if you were to create a format...
Do I have a choice? Wait,
no, you don't.
Okay.
If we were to create a format that's something new and creative that we haven't seen, what format would you do, Mark? I mean, we've talked about this, but I've never actually asked you this question.
Okay, so for slopestyle, I mean, basically I would do like, 2 technical tricks and 1 style trick on the jumps, maybe on the jibs as well. And then on the big airs, I would probably do the old air and style format. 1 crowd pleaser, aka a style trick, and then 1 technical aerial maneuver, triple 14, what have you, something like that.
Sure.
Quad 18.
Sure.
Quintuple 2700, whatever it takes.
I mean, do you think allowing like a quintuple or a quad is just like even taking it too far? Because there's going to be like the 3 guys in the field that are going to be at that level.
Aerial skiers aren't even allowed to do quads, right?
Right.
So that tells you it's like maybe it's kind of progressed a little too far too fast. But, I guess that's kind of the name of the game is always to up the ante. And what's the easiest way to up the ante? It's like add a flip, add a 180, add a 360, whatever. Right. So, but I would like to see more crowd-pleasing tricks. And by crowd-pleasing, I mean just the tricks that are stylish. Grab, tweaked out, slower rotating, that kind of thing. Or rewind or shuffle. Or there was a trick last year where Stale landed in a wheelie, or a manual.
Yeah.
And the landing of a big air jump. I think those tricks are the ones that I want to see. And those are the ones that are going to capture my attention long term. So there you go. How about you? Do you have any new formats I haven't thought of?
I think I want to see one where, like there's no transition higher than like 15 feet and there's no jump that's bigger than like 60 and you can't spin more than like a 7. And you really have to just kind of have to add style. Yeah.
Yeah. You could almost like manufacture it into the course itself.
I don't even want to see a double cork. I just want to see it just.
I actually wonder how many like riders out there are genuinely like personally stoked on like double, triple corks, quad corks.
To me, it seems like, even just watching the edits this week.
There were a ton.
Yeah. And there were a ton. And I think nobody was sitting there in the park. I mean, there were, I take that back. But the vast majority were just like, it was all about having fun and trying to add these cool little elements of style and individuality to what shot they were doing. Like, it was just, like, I didn't see a whole lot of it. And it was just so much fun to watch because you can relate with that guy that's just going up that quarter pipe and doing an 8-foot method and, coming in and maybe he's, slashing the lip or doing a blunt slide across the transition on the other side. And it's like, that's snowboarding to me.
And so maybe we should just jump right into talking about all the edits that have come out this week. Okay.
Let's do that.
What was your favorite of the week, Beav? What was your favorite new video that was released in the past week?
God.
There were a lot.
This is a tough one because, they all had their individual kind of points that were really cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I can actually pick out one that I thought was my favorite. You know, I have to laud the efforts of a few that I thought creatively they went and were like, you know what, we're going to revert back and say, like, let's shoot it on 16 or 8mm.
What does laud mean?
Like applaud, maybe. I think it's like laud the
magna cum laude.
Yeah, no. To just like laud the achievement, or like say like, you know,
celebrate the achievement.
Yeah, let's celebrate the fact that like some edits did some different things this week, and I think, you know, the summer edit that Ferguson, Danny Davis, Red Gerard, Nick Baden, Gabe Ferguson kind of just like did a summer edit from Hood, and it was all shot on 16. Filmer named Tyler Orton was like, I'm going to shoot it all on 16. And I thought I hadn't, you know, really seen a lot of films that were just like, we'll shoot it all on 16, mostly because...
What makes a 16 stand apart from like a, you know, like a red camera or something? What makes it seem different?
Well, I think, you know, when you look at 16mm film versus something that's as crisp as like red, you can totally see the difference when you stack them up against each other. There's something about...
Is it good or bad?
It's good. There's something about the richness of film being shot at 24 frames per second, or maybe you decide to shoot it at 32 a little slower, or 18, and you make things really quick, you know, and I think that is really cool to see. And I saw that even in Void, which was really cool.
That was a cool movie.
You know, they had a lot of 8mm shots in between everything, and not that we didn't see this in any other edits, but I thought this week particularly I saw that a lot more, and so I like that a lot. If you haven't looked at that film, that's the Alec Ostreng short film.
That's a good one,
and it was a good one because it really showed a lot of the, I guess, all the sides of snowboarding, right?
Right.
I think
there was jibbing, there was jumping, there was powder, there was hard pack.
Right.
Everything.
Right. There was one section that I didn't quite connect with because even it was like big mountain riding, but there was no like sound effects, and it felt really awkward to me. Like when they take off or land, there was not even like a hooting and hollering. Yeah, none of that. So that was the one thing I was like, come on, guys. Okay. You have such a good film going. But everything else in that I thought was pretty sick. That might be a little too harsh from like as a film.
Yeah.
Maybe, but we are.
I'll tell you what, after our
critics,
talk,
right?
after our talk with Stan, I've been really tuning into the music.
Right.
And so music-wise, I guess I would say that the one that I really liked was Coco Bongo.
Oh,
Coco Bongo.
Are we talking music about Coco Bongo?
Yeah, I like that. Phil Jackson, Frank April's new edit. Yeah.
I had a note about the music, which I thought was interesting.
Smashing Pumpkins.
I was like, did they come out of the gate with Smashing Pumpkins?
They did, right? And I was like, that connects with me. That connects with my college years.
Right. They had the Smashing Pumpkins. They had the Cure in there.
Yeah.
I think even another one, maybe even Void had like almost Smashing Pumpkins-esque. And it made me question, like, are we going back to a grunge rock phase?
Ooh, maybe. I wouldn't be the guy to ask that. I don't actually listen to music now. I just mostly listen to podcasts.
Right.
So a little bit of music
nerd,
when I
you're
ride.
a pod nerd. But anyways, Coco Bongo, thoughts on that film?
Okay, I thought it was awesome.
Me too.
Actually, I love the variety of features that they hit. Like it's like they're jibbing. It's mostly jibbing. There's a couple errors here and there, but like the way the features that they picked and the approach to it, it wasn't just like handrails. Right. It was like street signs and rooftops and
the shot of the street sign where they grinded down the lights on the street sign.
How sick was that, dude? I was like blown away.
Yeah. That was pretty rad. I
like that movie.
I like that movie. I thought the cinematography was really cool in it too.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, let's just say like Blender had a lot of like follow cam stuff and traditional street shooting shots, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And I thought this one was really cool in the way that they laid it out and they presented it. Just in like they'd have like lock off shots of something happening through the frame, and then the next minute they'd have like this like montage of like still photos of like the lifestyle of, and then you go back into riding and there might be a follow camera, there might be like another creative shot, and I thought the way that they presented it was actually pretty compelling.
I thought it was like my favorite jib movie so far this year.
I would agree with that too.
Yeah.
And maybe but
that's me. I'm old though, right? What do I know?
Me too. Stan loves Blender,
That's cool though, because it's like the cutting edge of tricks, and honestly I don't appreciate that cutting edge of tricks like Stan does.
Sure.
There you go. My favorite video actually of the week was Torsten Horgmo's Untitled Shredbots movie.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite because to me it was like a lot of drone footage in there,
Sure.
but it was like done well. It was like, and they had like animation throughout, like little CGI, which is a little strange.
It was crazy actually, like all the little water droplets that would fly off somebody like in the middle of something. It was impressive and executed really well for sure. And not that we haven't seen drones being used in snowboarding, we most certainly have.
Yeah.
And I started seeing it in some other, dare I say, ski films. What they have these like literally like a drone operator that is so technical at flying those things. He can fly so close and so fast and wrap around them. And I thought the perspectives, this week in snowboard videos was kind of game changer to me because I saw so many different perspectives in terms of filming goes. And that one, the drone footage was crazy in that,
Yeah, the drone footage did it. And also there were some awesome, amazing tricks, some of this new rewind, some of the new combo tricks, I would say, right? And Torstein, just awesome video.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Beav. I'm sitting here with Sully in a room just talking about snowboarding. If you can believe it, we're just a couple guys with a couple microphones. The idea really was to make a podcast for the people by a couple snowboarders, and that's us. But in turn, we need you to help us out. Go to patreon.com/the Snowboard Project, and just for like a couple bucks, maybe the cost of a beer, you can help us keep creating these shows. This month, we have so much good content for you. We have Torgeir, we have Nate Holland, we have Dave Schreiber, Kurt Heine. We have all these people in the industry, and these are interviews for you so that you can go listen to them and learn something about the industry that you are directly a part of. We want to keep creating them for you. So if you can help us out, 1, share our podcast. 2, potentially donate to our podcast. 3, rate our podcast. And 4, keep listening to our podcast, because the more of those things that we get, the more we can keep creating, the more cool ideas we can start tackling, and the more great stories we can keep bringing to you. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of that. Patreon.com/the Snowboard Project. Yeah.
And there were some other ones that got me stoked too, like RK1. We just watched that, and it was like Gimbal got at it first of all. So that just in and of itself says must watch.
Sure.
Right.
But to date, like Gimbal God, we really haven't seen any like full production from Gimbal God. We've seen like clips, right?
Yeah. And like you see, like he's like the king of Instagram.
Sure.
Right.
So RK1 Family Vacation came out, dropped, which was cool. Did Torgeir had mentioned this to you, right? Just his crew of people that they'd been filming
and so
with.
that was kind of a video they filmed at Locks. And the cool thing to me about that was just like it was all done like inbounds at the resort, inbounds through the park, but it was just stuff that was like, wow, that was rad. I could do that. Or like, and now granted, I'm not going to do the same tricks they're doing, but it's like I could like go and hit all those hits. Right. I could attempt jibbing on all those jibs. I could like. It connected with me as a snowboarder more than, I don't know, a lot of different videos. It was like, okay, this is like my reality, a little bit more so than like some other videos.
I think it just kind of like gave the vibe of like, hey, we're going up to our home resort and we're going to shred it in the way that we know how. There were like some like 180 into the tree, like switch 180 out, or like into the trees and then the switch 180 out back onto the run. And it was just like, hey, I do that all the time.
I know, and they call it family vacation, which is like, these guys are all professionals. This is like their jobs, but yet it's like their vacation too. And so I think that's what that highlighted to me is like, this is what they do for fun. This is what they do for work. And I think they've struck a nice balance between work and play.
Right. And to talk about like kind of some of the techniques that you see kind of like filmmaking kind of like going back to, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was some like actual traditional like videotape being shot in that, like taking it even further back to like Super 8, like 90s, like they all of a sudden, you'd be in it like at a 4K, Gimbal God shot, and all of a sudden you'd have the shot from behind him that was an 8mm 1990s like Panasonic, something. Right. And I thought, well, that's new. That's somewhere in between the 16 and the. I'm
waiting for someone to make an iPhone movie. Metrani.
It's already happened.
Cool.
It's already happened.
Who made that?
Dude, like Gesme put out a whole like iPhone edit. It was like 3 years of his. I mean, I think it was Tommy Gesme. One of those, or no, one of those Midwest crews, and we talked about this a little while ago. Just it's not necessarily the tool.
Right.
But the other thing that I would just want before we move on, which I thought was interesting, as I was like looking through the credits or whatever, all of a sudden like Matrani's name popped up, and I was like, Matrani shredding, and it was like music by Luke Matrani, and a name that we just haven't seen around the snowboard industry for a while.
What happened to Luke Matrani?
From what I remember, I think it was maybe in New Zealand. He did he had that double flip in the pipe, and I think he knocked himself pretty good, and he was down there for a while recovering. And I'm not sure what
CTE type thing.
Yeah, maybe like a brain injury or just getting knocked.
I tell you what, man, I think that's more common today than ever.
Sure.
I mean, the level of riding is so high now that it's almost inevitable that you're going to get concussed.
Sure.
At some point in riding.
Sure, it's a pretty scary thing that you have that you get knocked so far out that you end up having to give up the sport. Or I don't know if he has, but he most certainly changed a little bit of a direction in a creative way.
Right.
And I noticed like all the songs were like they were produced by Luke, and
it sounded like professional.
They did. They did.
They were professional.
I think those Friends guys have always been into music, and I think I roll my eyes every time that Jack Matrani pulls a guitar onto a screen while he's like, excuse me, he's announcing like a U.S. Open or something. You're like, dude, just put the guitar down. Please don't.
Yeah.
But I was impressed by Luke's music, which is cool. So anyways, but that was a really fun one. These dudes have a fun time at their resort.
Yeah, that was a cool video. And you know what? That brings up another point, actually. Well, we should get off videos here pretty soon. Sure. But here's one other point I want to make, which is like with this just the abundance of free, amazing video, by the way. It's like, what's going to happen to the paid snowboard videos, the absinthe, the betas, the kamikazes? Like, what's going to happen to these movies that you're actually supposed to buy? Because it's like, hey, I saw The Future of Yesterday. I saw the Untitled movie by Torstein. I saw a couple of great jib edits. There was like the Volcom video, Kabusta Gondola. Yeah. I mean, there was all sorts of like great free content out there. And so like, who is like now buying videos after seeing all these free videos? Dude. Right, and also, what does that say about the riders who dedicate their whole year to a video when, like, basically there's a whole different group of riders who are putting out content for free?
But what does it say about a rider who dedicates his whole season to putting together, like, an edit, and you look on some of these ones and you're like, 8,000 views on Vimeo. What is that?
Right.
What does that
that's the craziest part to me is like I watched the videos, got all stoked, and then I was like, well, let's check the views.
Yeah.
Right? Let's check the views. And to me, it was kind of crazy that these videos that like so much effort and like a whole season was dedicated, you were getting like 10,000 views.
Crazy.
Which is like, that's like, like a small, I don't know. It's not a lot of views basically for the sport of snowboarding, I would say.
Totally. You know what? There's another kind of edit out there too, and I think it's an interesting one. It's almost like everybody gets together and they spend like 2 days just writing something over and over and over and over, and making a video out of it. And we saw one of those this week with just like the Bogus Project, which I thought was one of those relatable films that was pretty fun.
Right. It was kind of like along the lines of RK1 in that they were riding a resort park.
Sure.
Which is like, okay, I can go ride park at resort. Yeah, I can see doing that.
And it wasn't like anything like overly crazy at all, but the setup was kind of like, it looked really fun. Like the follow cams through it, you have like six or seven different hits, and you're following like this person on this like fun run. And I think it was relatable, which I actually really enjoyed the edit that came out from Sean Lucy, which just kind of highlighted Bogus.
Right, like the bent metal binding edit from Bogus Basin, right?
Yep, and the crew.
Like the Boise crew, Maiden Boise crew?
Yeah, the Maiden Boise crew, the Corey Mack and those guys down there.
That's
Derek
cool.
Weimer, who's a Boise guy, who's a snowboarder filmer.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool edit too. And that just like related like everyday snowboarding, which is like, oh yeah, that's what I do.
Right.
I don't do triple cork 14s.
Right.
I go, jib the fun box. I go, try to slide the rail and make a full pull. I try to, do a backside 360. Like those, that's like in my realm of possibility, not like,
Right.
okay, first I'm going to like tuck for like 300 yards and then I'm going to go right between these two trees and then
Right.
launch 200 feet into the air into a 6 feet of powder.
But in terms of like, we can spend another minute on this, but like, in terms of like filming something, like that's a whole nother thing. Like spend 2 days in a really tight environment with a lot of people that are just amping each other up and just bang, 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 get awesome shots and put out a thing that gets equally as many hits.
That's almost like a
10,000 hits.
new take.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it's a new take. I think it's happened, but it's like most certainly another type
Right.
of doing it. Like like Weimer put out an edit on it, Derek, like back in February, and it had like 10,000 hits. And that one is really, if you look at that one, like that one is awesome. Like,
Right, and didn't dedicate a whole season to it either.
Right, he dedicated 2 days, spent a couple days in the pain cave, like at his house, putting some awesome music to awesome shots that he knew of right away and put
Right.
it out there. And so there's another kind of if we're talking about like the death of movies or like the films,
It
like,
might be. It
might
might be,
like really.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that guy that just goes, you know what? You're going to get pictures on Instagram, and that's all you're going to get, and you're going to get my season edit at the end of the year.
Ooh, that would be a very bold move.
And I'm going to do a film tour with it, and you're going to have to see it in the theater.
Right. I mean,
wonder
that's
who's
like a
gonna be that
Travis
guy.
Rice kind of power move.
That's like a Travis Rice
Yeah.
move. Or maybe the industry as a whole just says, like, let's do that and let's leave everybody else.
I don't think the industry as a whole does anything.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what else do we have to talk about today? There's our whole wrap
All
up
right.
of videos. There was a lot.
Yeah, it is. All right. So some other things I was thinking about. Something kind of came across the Instagram, and I took some note. I saw that like Joey B, how you doing?
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Have you seen that guy's stuff, by the way?
I think I have.
Yeah,
yeah,
you
I
have.
mean, obviously I have. If I do, hey, how you doing? How you
Right,
doing? How you
right.
doing? Yeah, I know.
A friend of mine, like I was living with my buddy Chris Erickson, who was he was like a junior designer for Smith, and he was
Right.
like, dude, he would be like, how you doing? How you doing? He showed me this guy, and he was like, my crew is Ice Coast Kills Shit, and I was like, what is Ice Coast Kills Shit?
Was that his crew?
Yeah, that was like his New York crew. And
Upstate New York.
Yeah, upstate New
Okay,
York. And I was
okay.
like, what an interesting name.
They
for
had
a
powder,
crew.
by the way, in upstate New York this week. And
Did they
Vermont.
really?
Yeah, they got a little fresh snow.
Well, how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing, New York? I like how he does a trick and he's like, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Right,
He
he
tries
does
to
it the
count
whole
how
time
many
during the
times,
trick, yeah.
Which is kind of his
That's a
funny
new
thing.
take on
That's
things.
a new take.
Yeah. I'd repeat something. It's like mumble rap.
Oh, it's he kind of has created a persona in snowboarding that's just like around this one thing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think he sells shirts or whatever. They sell shirts.
Yeah,
on Ice.
okay.
But anyways, I guess my point being is like, I was just thinking about cool crews kind of across the U.S.
Yeah.
And it's like, within we just talked about like the Made in Boise crew down in Boise.
Yeah, there's
and
crews
we have,
everywhere
like,
all over the world.
The Lick the Cat crew. What are some other crews you can think of?
Oh man, I mean, I was a part of like different crews myself growing up. Like
Yeah.
I was kind of a cursory member of the VTSP, just kind of on the sideline.
What is the VTSP?
Vermont Slope Posse. That's the godfather of, maybe all crews. Right, was Jeff Brushy's crew. Yeah,
really?
Like in the late '80s.
No way.
Yeah, that part of the boarding house, Andy Coughlin's boarding house. Their whole like crew of like shop guys, like formed the VTSP. And then I was part of the Team Green crew, which was like the guys from like southern, like Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont. We were like a crew from there, and then part of the XLG Ghetto crew, which was like Nate Cole and Rowan Rogers and Dale Rayberg, and that was my crew in Colorado.
Okay.
So,
Let me
yeah.
ask you, back in the day when there were like crews, was it highly competitive, or were you guys like, yo, fuck that other crew? Did you ever get like that, or was everybody mostly just like, they were like, hey, that's my posse, and yeah.
There were. I don't think there was really any competitive rivalry. There was like ARA, Cobras, VTSP. It was more how we identified, like we were the XLG Ghettos. We were like the youngest kids in Breck at the time.
Oh, interesting.
And so that was our crew. And then the older guys were like the Cobras from Vail, or the ARA.
Right.
And so it was just like a way that we identified ourselves,
Right.
I guess. And we, we were into like gangster rap music. So it was like our little like, I don't know. We weren't definitely not gangsters, but maybe we thought we were a little tougher than we were.
Right.
Yeah, maybe as teenagers. I'm not sure. I think
get
we
that.
were pretty tough, though. We were really tough, actually.
I get that. Here in Sun Valley, we had the KSA.
Ooh,
yeah.
real thuggy part of Idaho here.
the Ketchum Snowboard Army.
Yeah.
I got to throw it out there.
Okay. Yeah. And what did you guys do as a crew? Did you guys like have a gang sign?
What was your sign?
No, we didn't ever have a gang sign. No, but you know what? We organized and kind of like as a crew, we were able to come together and like, hey, we were able to like mobilize and come up with like cool events where everybody was like on board with it. You know,
right.
If you were part of the KSA, you got that tap on the shoulder. If you got that sticker or that, the patch or like the hoodie, the black hoodie with a number, like you were part of something, and I thought that was cool. And I think maybe that is the joy of having a crew.
Right. So maybe like email us or tag us with your crew, and so we'll shout out your crew next week.
Ooh.
Why don't we do a crew shout out? So if you have a crew, tag the Snowboard Project on Instagram or on Facebook, and we will try to shout you out.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Let's
shout out some crews.
Yeah, and be sure to put where you're from. So
where your crew.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're from, Ottawa.
Or Oman.
Yeah, there might be a crew that,
I've been checking. We have listeners now all over the world, Beav. I've been checking our little statistics. Oman, UAE.
Get out of here.
Oh, yeah, dude. We have like Lithuania, Brazil, Colombia, the home of cocaine.
Wow.
Yeah, we have listeners in Colombia, the country.
Interesting.
All over, like strange places too, where you wouldn't think snowboarders would live and breed, but they do.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, so this week I went up and we figured I'd do something. We'd do something a little different. You were there.
Yeah.
We kind of came up with this idea.
Part of our riding on the mountain.
Yeah.
Like, how do we make this even more interesting than it already is on this one trail?
Right. So I'm going to play a little game right now.
Okay.
And it's a play-along game, and we're going to test this out. Maybe it'll fall flat on its face.
Okay, so give like listeners at home a couple of seconds.
Exactly. So what this is we're going to play a little sounds from the field trivia.
Ooh.
And what I mean by sounds from the field is sounds from the actual ski hill.
Okay.
All right. So are you ready for this, Mark? Because I recorded some sounds, and hopefully I'm going to stump you with these sounds.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
Okay. First sound.
Here we go.
Okay.
Do you know it?
That sounds like my pass getting scanned. That's what I would go with, my pass getting scanned.
Okay, we're going easy to hard. That was an easy one.
Okay. That was pretty easy. I hear that all the time.
That was your pass getting scanned.
I just heard that like 4 days in a row, maybe 5 in a row today.
Okay.
Later this afternoon.
Okay, here's the next sound. Coming at you right.
Oh, I know that sound too.
You know that sound.
That's your pass getting scanned.
That is my lack of a pass getting scanned.
Yes. That was like last year's pass getting scanned.
That was last year's. That was me trying to go through the line with last year's pass.
Doesn't always work very well.
Right, but you know what gets me always past?
What?
I'm part of the media, and this is a microphone.
Right.
Right. Ways that you can get on the hill. So, that was, of course, your pass getting denied.
Right.
Or the visual sound of Mark Sullivan's Tinder account.
What?
That's
not even fair.
That was unfair.
That's not even fair.
I had to say it. Okay, all right. Let's hear the next sound. Here it comes. You ready?
My Tinder doesn't have sound effects.
Ooh, what is the sound, Mark? You've heard it.
Think about this.
I know you've heard it. You've been close to this sound.
Oh, that's the sound in the bathroom when someone drinks too many IPAs.
Wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what is that sound?
That is actually
what that sound is?
A deep ultrasound of Jake Burton Carpenter's heartbeat.
Whoa. How did you get that sound? He was in Sun Valley? I missed him?
I paid off TMZ, bro.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
That's not what that sound is. What is that sound?
No, that sound is actually the sound of you leaving the terminal at a lift.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Like rolling the lift, like going over the rollers, basically. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's okay. Here's the next sound. You ready for this?
Ready
for this?
If you're using people for human slalom poles, then we'll stop.
Here it comes again.
If you're using people for human slalom poles, then we'll stop.
It's a guy saying if you're using people as human slalom poles. Trick question, Beav. I'm a snowboarder. I don't use slalom poles.
If you use human as bank slalom poles.
Oh, bank slalom. Okay.
Trick question again. Bank slaloms don't use poles.
That's right. So anyhow, doesn't apply to me.
Doesn't apply to me.
Doesn't
just
apply
some
to
guy
me.
saying something that doesn't apply to me.
Yeah. The guy was probably wearing some official uniform at the ski hill.
Yeah, he was.
And I go to the snowboard hill.
Yeah.
Two different places.
Two different
entirely.
places.
Just ask Lindsey Vonn.
Whoa, that is harsh. That is so harsh.
That's
Lindsay,
what I thought when she said it the first time.
You and Lindsay matched on Tinder over.
No, I swiped left.
Oh.
Yes.
Is that the direction when you deny? I don't know these things.
Yeah, I do know. And you swipe left to deny, right to accept.
Here's the next sound right now. What is
that's obvious.
Oh, is it, Mark? Really obvious? Here, one more time.
Okay. That is the creaking of the front door of the base lodge. Because
that is exactly what it is.
Exactly. I hear it like every day. I go in there.
The left door at the River Run Base Lodge.
Yeah. See?
Everybody.
I mean, maybe a little WD-40. There's a hardware store here in town.
Wow.
Maybe we should do that. We'll just take it upon ourselves to WD-40 the door.
I really thought that I would get you on that one. I was like, he'll never get this sound. But I guess when you're standing there in that like cold entry and it just amplifies through there and that squeak happens on the left side.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah,
it's so obvious.
It's so obvious.
Yeah. So Sun Valley, we're just giving you the heads up. The left side at the River Run Base Lodge might need a little WD-40. Okay, moving on.
Hey! Yeah. Sorry, we're going great, man. I'm sorry. Like, look at all the other people. Hey!
Playing it again.
Oh, I'll tell you what, that's not even like really fair because I hear that like almost every day I go riding. That's getting pulled over by ski patrol.
That is getting pulled over by ski patrol. And I was just like, I was going down the hill and I was like, when am I going to get one of those like just awesome moments? And from out of the left side comes this like kid just flying on a pair of race skis past me, and I'm in a slow zone, I'm just doing my job here.
Right.
And then ski patrol was on his shit right behind him, like, you do not know. And when there's one run on the mountain and there's 50 or 500 people on that run,
They don't take speeding lightly.
No, they do not.
Right.
And he came firing, and I sat there.
I'm glad that the ski patrol pulled over skier. Normally, they only target snowboarders.
Right, yeah. And I sat there like inconspicuously like 8 feet away, just like... This kid is in so much.
And you're like, I can't believe I'm recording this right now.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Okay, here's
one
another
last sound.
Here's another sound here.
It sounds like bindings.
Oh, it does sound like bindings.
Yes.
Okay, that's definitely not bindings. That's someone taking off their ski boots.
Wrong.
Wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. She just
that relief.
Yes.
Yes, it's almost like post-coital.
Yeah, let's hear that again. Oh, wait, whoops.
We have one more sound.
Oops. I forgot this sound.
What did she say right there?
She said she loves it.
Okay, that is a kid being forced to ski and not snowboard. Right?
That is
like,
absolutely a child being forced to ski and her parent going like, no, she loves it.
Right, she doesn't love it.
She loves this. She hates this.
No, she could be a snowboarder right now. You are wasting your life on skis.
All right, moving on. Thank you for joining us for our first ever Sounds from the Field.
Yeah, we might do some more of that.
We should do that.
Future.
It was actually kind of fun. Just like it's interesting when you have headphones on and all you can hear are the sounds of the ski hill. Right. You start laughing because you realize there's so many weird sounds around you.
Yeah. So we should do some more of that. Maybe like even like riding interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, we started recording in the gondola. We started on the hill. I mean, we could record anywhere, I think.
Right. You know what? I actually recorded a kind of, and I think it was kind of fun. I recorded an interview with a couple of snowboarders, a couple of young snowboarders, which I thought was kind of funny.
Maybe we should listen to that.
Yeah, should we go ahead and let's just play it for them right now.
So these are like recreational snowboards. How old are these guys?
These guys are probably like, gosh, how old are they? I think they're like 13 or 14. So
okay,
yeah.
Yep.
All right,
let's just of puberty.
Yeah, let's just roll into it, and they can hear the whole episode right now. Have you ever had a skier yell at you just for being a snowboarder?
Yeah. One time at Nationals, I was going too fast, and this old grandpa hit me with his pole. I got pretty mad about that.
And I like sprayed a dude, and he wasn't happy, so he was chasing me down and said snowboarders are not the best. He gave a little bit more words, but you know.
Right, he used some of those profane 4-letter words. Yeah, I know how that goes. I've been there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What are your goals for the season this winter?
I want to get frontside and backside 5s, and then I want to do a Mick twist in the pipe.
Okay, all right, those are good goals. What are your goals?
I want to learn crippler, corks, and every 9.
And get a girlfriend.
Yeah, and not get out of the friend zone.
Yeah, that.
And get out of the friend zone. Okay, so what's your plan of attack for getting out of the friend zone?
If I knew that, I'd be out of it already. I don't know. I just gotta take it by year.
Maybe you need to learn to dance or like bake or something. You know.
I can make cookies. I just need a recipe, but
he is not a good dancer.
I'm not a bad dancer.
You're not good at dancing.
I'm not a bad dancer. Okay, I'm not the best dancer, but we can work on it.
Okay, Jack's gonna work on his dancing. Caleb's gonna work on his.
Get out of the friend zone. I don't really know how to get out of the friend zone. If I did.
Because you've never been in the friend zone?
No, never in the friend zone.
Okay, you'll get there.
Never talked to a girl besides his sister.
Oh wow.
I'm sorry, I'm joking. I'm playing.
Wow, these are 2 friends, 2 snowboarders having a good time. All right, Beav on the street out.
The friend zone, huh, Beav? Hey, when did you get out of the friend zone, Beav?
Are you asking me when I got out of the friend zone?
Yeah, when did you get out of the friend zone? Because you're giving advice about getting out of the friend zone.
Right.
So obviously you have some expertise of not only being in the friend zone, but also leaving the friend zone.
Right.
Yes.
I was 31 when I finally left the friend zone.
Oh, that took some time.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, how did you get out of the friend zone?
I learned both 9s.
That got you out of the friend zone.
Yeah. Okay. I learned all 9s, every direction, every way, and I learned to bake cookies and dance.
Oh, those are the 3 secrets. That's the advice you gave to those kids.
That's exactly what I told them.
Obviously, some expert advice coming from the Beav.
Exactly.
Okay. That was pretty fun, though.
Hey, what's up, Snowboard Project listeners? I know you're probably sitting on the couch or in the car or somewhere with another friend of yours who is also a snowboarder who is sitting there scrolling on his phone, on his Facebook, on his Instagram, and he has no idea what a podcast is. So here's what I want you to do. Here's the challenge. You need to walk over to your friend, grab his phone, scroll down and find that little purple podcast button that he has no idea has never opened, and I want you to press it. And you are going to do him the biggest favor of his life right now. You are going to subscribe him or her to the Snowboard Project. And then you're going to rate us 5 stars and you're going to throw him his phone back and say, "You're welcome." They get to listen every week to 3 different stories, a couple from, other snowboarders just like them, or maybe an industry person that will give them the great information they want to know about design, or maybe about, marketing themselves, or maybe about just snowboarding and being a competitive snowboarder. And you're also going to get news, and news that's not just past the, next 180 or the 1620. You are going to hear things about the adventure, the friendship, and you are going to hear about the experiences of doing what you love, which is snowboarding. Hit the purple button, subscribe him, rate us, hand the phone back and say, "You're welcome." Okay, some real industry news here.
Okay, what's going on in the snowboard industry?
I think that we could talk about this because in the news this week came across Tamarack Resort, which is a resort that is pretty close to us. It's up in McCall, Idaho. Which about around the turn of the recession went under, and they left this place just. I mean, it was like
real estate play resort, brand new resort, installed all brand new lifts, and then just started slapping together trailside condos and houses and that kind of thing.
Not even condos. I mean, like McMansions on the side of the slopes. Yeah, and so full disclosure, I'd never been up there till this summer, and I decided I'd just go drive through. This place is like this gorgeous setting of a mountain, and they have all these slope side houses that go halfway up the hill. You can drive all the way to the top of them, and then there's just like this whole base area that's just like completely unfinished, like Tyvek still slapped on the side of it. It's kind of sad actually, because I remember Tamarack being this just like amazing idea of a ski hill. They even had I believe they had a couple of USSA what am I saying? You announce all of them. God, the
Grand Prix.
Yeah, they even had a couple Grand Prix there. You know, it was like sick. There's a mountain that's doing it, and then all of a sudden it just like it went under. The head guy like fled the country and left it just completely fucked.
And so at least it's going to come back now, and they're going to be able to get some of the money out of their investment in their real estate, because that's what the thing was, real estate.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it, but I mean, some good things that I saw was basically they're going to put up, they got a new terrain park guy, so they're going to do a terrain park up there, and they're going to do, and I thought this was really cool, they're going to do free programs for newcomers to come to learn to ski or board.
Okay, say that again so everyone listens to this.
They are going to give free programs for newcomers to come to learn to ski or board.
Now that is a good idea.
Right.
And that is like one of the best ideas I've heard actually in a long time. I was like, where are you going with this Tamarack thing? Who cares about real estate?
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I don't either.
I can't afford it.
But I thought that was interesting. I thought, like, you know.
No, but they're going to actually allow people to ski and snowboard for free, teach them how to ride for free.
I think if they're a newcomer, because they want to introduce people to their resort and make it inclusive, which I think we've seen a trend in the other direction in the ski and snowboard industry.
Right. It's gotten so expensive, it's priced people out of the market, I would say.
Right.
To a large degree, anyway.
So that's pretty core of a resort to make that kind of a statement. That they're going to do that, because from what I traditionally hear is that Tamarack kind of came in and were like, we're going to make this place so exclusive and cool, and they kind of forced all the locals that were just kind of the run-of-your-mill like guy that just lives in town, they couldn't go up and ride.
Yeah.
They had like all these, it was crazy. So
interesting. So that's, I guess, good news.
That is good news. That's good news.
I'll count that as good news.
Right.
For sure. Okay. So that's pretty cool.
Anything else come across your beat this week in kind of like week of snowboarding?
You know, to me, the biggest news this week were just like all the edits that came out, and then going riding. I rode 4 days in a row. I'm gonna maybe get a couple runs in this afternoon,
right?
Because I have a pass here. So we're in snowboard season, and that's the thing that I'm most stoked on. Is that we're actually railing some turns, hitting, they had this little fun, it was like a propane tank obstacle, hit that a couple times, little jump, did a couple methods. I'm still breaking in my boots, and so they're like, talk about the ugliest method ever. That's the one I did yesterday.
I saw it. It was pretty ugly.
It was. I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm not claiming that thing. No, I was just trying to when no one was looking. Apparently you were looking.
I was looking,
but I was hoping no one was looking.
Whatever happened to the suitcase method?
I don't know. I think people still do them.
Do they?
Yeah.
All right.
So, I'm sure there's other stuff we could talk about. Maybe we should go
let's roll into trivia.
Yeah, let's do trivia.
Let's do some trivia. We got some trivia. Oh, wait, no. Before we go into trivia, let's do the giveaway.
Are we going to give that away? Did you get 50 entries?
I didn't get 50, but I got like 25.
Well, maybe we should wait another week for 25 more. I mean, sharing it is the deal. We're trying to grow this organically.
All right. So this week I tried to give something away, and I was really hoping that like 40 or 50 people would like share the post. And I thought that's not unreasonable to think of. But
share the post, share an episode.
Excuse me, share an episode. So here's what I had. A 1990 gyrator, K2 gyrator. HP with a pirate radio sticker. I mean, it's pretty cherry, and I was like, somebody's gonna want this, that they'll share an episode and they'll tag us in it, and we will and basically the idea is, hey, help us grow this thing, right? And like help us get I was reading something about podcasts. It's just like, the best way to get something out there is by word of mouth, using your audience to get things out to their audience, and if you like, so my ask was, if you like an episode, share it with your friends, and you'll be entered into this giveaway for this K2 gyrator, and we'll send it to you. I'll even pay the shipping for it.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you basically get this free cool board that you can ride on Gaper Day or put on the wall or, I don't know, burn to the snow gods, whatever you want it. Let's hope you don't do that.
Yeah, I know. You should not burn that board. That's a sweet board.
We will. Yeah, you know what? We can wait another week on that. But, there were like 20 or 25 people that shared an episode.
Let's wait one more week. Let's see who will share an episode of the Snowboard Project. You can like steal one of our images, our illustrations of the person in that Snowboard Project. They're all posted on Instagram. Yep. We also post them on our Facebook page, and I post them other places too.
Speaking of, and we'll just, so, hey, you know what? Help us out. Repost. This giveaway is going to happen. And I guess, Mark, now we got to do it next week, right?
Yeah, we got to do it next week.
Okay. Speaking of those the cool portraits.
Yeah.
This week has a really pretty cool one, I think. Who do we have this week?
Okay, so we have two. We have DCP, and then we have Kurt Heine.
Right.
Yes.
And Heine's was really the one that I was like...
Yeah, so he was like a straight-up metalhead in high school.
Was he really?
Yeah, like gel, hairspray, frosted tips. He talks about it in the interview.
Okay.
Spandex.
I can see that because Heine and I have been friends on Facebook for a number of years, and I follow some of the stuff, and I just see him at like Metallica concerts. Like,
oh yeah,
this is
Slayer,
crazy.
Metallica.
Slayer, yeah,
he's always at concerts.
He's okay.
He's got a good interview. I listened to it this morning actually, just to review, and yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, he has so much experience. He helped, get Peter Line out there,
Sure.
Todd Schlosser,
Sure.
Dave Lee. I think he filmed with Terry Kiedis. He's filmed with all sorts of pros. He was like the Mac Dog filmer, and then he had his own film company.
Right.
We talk about all sorts of stuff.
Pretty
Cool
much
interview.
a legend in filming.
Yeah, totally.
And in snowboarding. He had a pretty good career.
Yeah, he had
in
a pro
snowboarding,
career
right?
too,
Yeah.
Kemper Pro.
He did.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one of those old Kemper boards that I
nice.
love, and every once in a while I see Heine post up a picture where he's on that same board, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's my Gaper Day board,
Nice.
Yeah.
Now that you don't have the K2 to fall back on.
Well, here's the thing: the K2 gyrator was made in the Connolly water ski factory because
Ooh.
back when K2 started making snowboards, they didn't have the ability to do it apparently.
Yeah.
And so the core of that board is like it's actually like the inside of a water ski rather than like a wood core.
Okay,
And
it's
so
foam.
I'm a heavy kid, so I have never ridden that board because
Okay.
I've always felt like I'm going to come down and just snap that thing. So it's usually
Sure.
a friend of mine that's like, yo, you got a board? And I'm like, I throw it out to him, and then they get this sweet gyrator for the day.
Nice. Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll give that away next week. Share an
Yep.
episode.
Yep.
Whichever one you like, tell your friends. Just help us grow this thing.
Yep.
Let's go into trivia, Beav.
All right, let's do trivia. Trivia this week, this last week was all about Super Park.
Okay, good. I was
Yeah.
at Super Park a number of times.
You were, and you were
Actually
kind of
ran it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did. We
Yeah.
we know that because you talked about it last week. You want to
I
talk more
know.
about yourself?
Yeah, let's talk all about me.
Let's not talk all about you. Anyways, trivia, Super Park trivia.
Yes. Okay. First question. What do we got here?
What year did Travis Rice first get into Super Park?
Okay, I
What year was
believe that year was 2001.
Yes.
And it was at Breckenridge. And
No, it was a Mammoth.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
I was there.
Really?
Yes. I think.
No, I think it was Mammoth, bro.
I think it was the first Cutters Cup.
I only say
At
Mammoth.
Breck.
I only say Mammoth because I think that was his standout breakout.
Nope. It was the Whistler feature from the Cutters
Okay.
Cup.
All right.
It was a gap. There was like a cat width trough cut out in the middle of this like hip, so he had to jump over the cat width.
Okay.
And he ended up straight backside rodeoing 120 feet, and it was mind numbing.
So that was the trick that set him apart. Was
Yeah,
that?
back rodeo over this like gap hip, but it actually that was like the first 40 feet was like the gap or whatever. He
Right.
went 120,
Right.
so he like tripled the size of the air.
I remember just looking at that whole spread in that Super Park edition and just being like, wow, Travis got like 7 of the 15 pages.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's crazy. Because Travis obviously grew up in the Intermountain kind of division with all of us.
Did you compete against Travis Rice?
I did compete against Travis Rice.
Did you ever
actually.
beat Travis Rice?
Travis Rice actually ruined my pro career.
What do you mean?
In border cross, yeah. I was at regionals in Mammoth, and I think I had qualified first fastest and won every single one of my heats. And here I am in the gate of like semifinals, right? Like
Right.
I'm going to the finals. I'm killing everybody, and I had been getting the whole shot and taking everybody in the first turn, and it was like I look in the gate and it was like me, Wyatt Caldwell, Travis Rice, and at that time I think there were 6 across. So
Yeah.
there were like
I think
3
they're going
more.
back to 6 across.
Yeah, it was wild, and I remember just being like, oh, I'm just gonna totally rule this one. And the first turn, Travis hits me from behind in my tail, and I skid off and go flying over the first berm. And I remember flying through the air over the freaking berm, and I hit a tree dead center in the middle of my snowboard.
Oh.
And fell to the ground, and that was the end of my hopes to make it to nationals, which would have resulted in a career in border cross.
Right.
Thank you, Travis, for just ruining my.
Wow.
my
Well, at least you and Travis have something in common.
What's that?
I don't know. You both race border cross.
We both race border cross.
Tried to make it
kids,
to nationals.
Kids.
Okay.
Anyways, the trick that set him apart was a backside rodeo on the super booter, the hip tabletop, 127 foot. And that was monstrous. And that video, that Rozzy video that came out in, I remember. Just
he was on Rozzy back then.
Yeah, he was.
It was actually a couple of years before LibTech.
Right.
He rode for Rozzy for a number of years.
He was actually living out in Mammoth that year with all of us, and I remember after that happened, we never saw Travis again. He just went. I think it was like
Hostenik. Hostenik basically like tapped me on the shoulder. I think I was running Super Park then, and he was like, "Hey, this kid, grew up at Jackson Hole. His dad's a ski patroller. He's got it."
Right.
And I was like, "Okay, let him in."
Right.
I was like the gatekeeper.
And Hostenik then was like, "You're coming with me to Alaska," and took him to Alaska for like a month after that.
And then
after that happened,
the rest is history.
Yeah, we never saw him again.
Yeah.
I think he got shipped like 15 boards, and they just sat at the house until all of us took him and went and rode him.
Nice.
And we never gave him back.
Right.
Anyways, okay. Back to Super Park trivia.
Yeah.
After a long waylay, how long did the Cutters Cup last? And the Cutters Cup was a spin-off.
Explain the Cutters Cup was just like a kind of a version of Super Park. And so we did Super Park. It was always about this photo shoot, and the athletes would show up, and all our senior photographers at Snowboarder magazine, which I was running at the time, would show up and they'd take photos. Then we'd make a big feature, an editorial feature. And really, Super Park was really kind of one of the things that helped promote park riding in the very beginning of snowboard parks.
Right.
And so the idea was to gain exposure for the idea of manufactured terrain, which actually didn't really exist prior to that.
Sure.
And so the Cutters Cup was basically an event that instead of like just featuring the athletes, it was about a competition between park crews, because now, like, fast forward like 7 years or something into Super Park, and now parks are actually like pretty commonplace, and so now it's like, okay, who's the best park in the world? So it was basically a competition amongst park builders.
All right.
And so we had like prize money. I think Honda sponsored it the first year and gave us like $10,000 to give away. We made actually a movie, Super Park movie.
Right.
And it was a pretty cool event. And I think Breck won the first one and maybe the second one too.
Huh.
Elliot Cohen still building like the X Games terrain features. He was a snow park tech guy.
Who were some of the kind of standout builders? Was it like Cohn and like who else? Like Rosie, was he there?
Rosenwald may have been there one year.
Pete Colombo, maybe from
Pete
Mammoth.
Colombo. There was Dave Franzen, and he built the first C box that premiered at Super Park, and that was like the most hit obstacle. It was funny because people would take different approaches. Some people would build these like monster hits that were like you were just intimidated to hit, right?
Right.
And then other people would build something that was fun that everyone could ride. And certainly I would say the biggest success was like the first C-Rail coming out of that first Cutters Cup.
Right.
So the way it worked is like each cat driver would get 30 hours in a snowcat, and then they would get like one night in the welding shop to build a rail.
Oh,
so they build one rail and then build whatever they could build with 30 hours in a cat.
They were literally building rails on site.
On site, yeah.
Wow.
You wouldn't bring anything there. It was like you get 12 hours, I think, in the welding shop.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like Top Chef or something. Like
this is long before Top Chef.
Yeah,
beef.
so you were revolutionary in that idea.
I don't know about that, but
all right. So how long did it last?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, and then it kind of went on with like different park builders coming, but it wasn't so much a competition for the park builders. It was more back to the let's feature the riders.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. The spinoff for Super Park. The spinoff of Super Park for kids. What was that called?
The Launch, and that's still happening now.
Right.
Yeah. So like kids, you might not be like pro enough, let's say, to go to the real Super Park. So, but you might get invited to the Launch, and that's like 16, 17-year-old kids. And pretty cool little event right there, and they kind of do a separate feature on that.
Who were some of the kids that kind of came up through that a little bit? With like, I think I remember seeing like Red Gerard.
I would guess years. Red Gerard. Yeah. Basically, like kids who are now like 18 to 20, pretty much came through the Launch.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick. That's cool that was an element that you guys implemented for bringing younger kids into the fold of that.
I think that was all Bridges. I think that was
Bridges.
Idea. Yeah, that was Bridges for sure.
Sick. Okay, where was the first Super Park held?
First Super Park was held in Squaw Valley.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and so I don't even think they really allowed snowboarding all over the mountain. They like had it like in one little section of the mountain.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Did you go to that first one?
I did not.
You
that
did
was
not.
like I was like in college maybe, or trying to be a pro rider in Breckenridge at that point, and did not get invited.
Clearly not pro enough.
Not pro enough. No, but I don't think any of my crew, the XLG Ghetto crew, like Dale Rayberg and Roland Rogers, those guys didn't get invited
right.
either, and they were definitely more qualified than me at that point.
Right. So, what year was that they did
that? That was 1993.
93.
Spring of 1993. And I think Sean Sullivan, senior photographer for the magazine, kind of had that idea. And it's like, hey, we should do a big photo shoot. I'll get all the pros to show up. We'll call it Super Park. It's like Snowboard Park, only
no way.
Super.
Is that so? It was Sean Sullivan's idea then?
Yeah, I think so, actually.
Wow.
Initially, yeah. And then it became like
is Sean your cool older brother?
No, I got asked that for years, actually. I'm not related to Sean Sullivan. I will not claim that. No.
Okay.
I'm not going to go any deeper than that.
All right.
Not related.
Hey, what's up, all you Snowboard Project listeners? A lot of you know and some of you don't, but we just sent out our sticker packs to all our supporters on Patreon just in time for you to slap a sticker on your new board. You sponsor us, and we're going to give you so much great content just about real life in snowboarding. But hey, if you haven't checked out patreon.com/The Snowboard Project, you can sponsor us and help us keep bringing you all this great content. We are talking about so much this month. We are talking about snowboarding, bottom line. 2, we are talking about life experiences through snowboarding. We have a weekly news show, and we just bullshit and keep it real in the snowboard industry. We are talking not just about tricks. This is bigger than that. This is about experiencing snowboarding for what it is, the adventure, the friendships, the progression on the mountain and off the mountain in life, following your passion in whatever aspect of snowboarding you happen to love. This podcast is snowboarding and making the most of every single day in snowboarding. So please visit us on patreon.com/The Snowboard Project and help us keep bringing you all these great stories from snowboarders just like you. Okay, let's move on to some trivia for this week.
Okay,
for you
new
guys.
trivia. Let's do it.
We kind of had a theme of like snowboarding in the mainstream or washed up snowboarding in the mainstream.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's washed up now, Beav?
Okay, what? Who's washed up now? No. Okay,
that should be a new segment that we do.
Who's washed up
Look
now?
Who's washed up now?
Right. Yeah. Some like current pro that just turned 22. Like,
I mean, that actually happens.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to hold on to that career.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Okay, so washed up snowboarding in the mainstream.
Okay.
What year did Cool Boarders come out?
Ooh.
Do you remember that? Cool
I do.
Boarders?
It was a video game. So I actually went on this. They were making like an ad for TV because it was like promoted. This is like when video games were getting like they had ads on TV or whatever. And I got flown. My very first trip to Alaska was like right when I started at Snowboarder, and basically we got flown on like a ski plane up to a mountain, and we watched them film this commercial in snow. There was no hill. It was like a flat glacier. We flew up and stood on the snow all day, and like these like LA actor guys were like, "Whoa, dude, sick!" Right? And it was like this full like TV commercial that was just like super bro broad out, but it was cool. First trip to Alaska.
I just can't even imagine. That's awesome. You got a trip to Alaska to go see that.
To go watch them film a TV commercial. They were like, "Oh well, we're spending like all this money on this. Let's fly in some editors."
Wow.
And we did like a little sidebar maybe in the magazine or something, and then they bought a bunch of ads for the thing in the magazine.
It was good to be an editor back then, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Okay, so the question was, what year did Cool Boarders come out? Okay. And then kind of a follow-up question to that was, name 2 riders that were featured throughout the years in Cool Boarders, and there were a bunch of them.
Yeah, there was like a series of Cool Boarders games, so they must have been pretty popular.
There were a couple even like less popular riders I remember being in that game, like that were just like. I mean, I think
name one of the less popular.
No,
riders.
I'm not going to do that because this is the question.
Trivia question.
Yeah. But I might be wrong. Wrong.
The most obscure rider though will rise to the top. If you name like someone who's super obscure who was in that, that gets extra points.
Right, totally. Okay. And then name the pro snowboarder that was in the movie Out Cold. I know you know it.
I do know it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's washed up or not.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Well, you're the one who called this washed up trivia.
Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, that was unfair.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what he didn't do.
What didn't he do?
Stick his dick in a hot tub jet.
Ooh. No, that was Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, that was Zach Galifianakis. Yeah.
But he was in that. That would have been one of his first movies.
It might have been. It might have been.
That was a good movie.
That was like the standout moment in that movie. Where
it wasn't as good as Hot Dog the movie, but it was pretty good.
What about Hot Tub Time Machine?
Ooh, that was okay too. That was pretty good. I don't know which one I liked better, Out Cold or Hot Tub Time Machine.
I kind of liked them both.
Yeah, they were both pretty good.
Out Cold's still classic to watch every once in a while. You're like, yes, we should watch Out Cold.
Like with the guy with like the tube at the top. You're gonna have to learn how to ride when they had the big race at the end or whatever.
We actually had a movie night this last year at the end, and we watched Out Cold, which I thought was kind of fun.
There's a bunch of snowboarders in that movie, actually.
There are.
I think about it.
There are none that are. Yeah. Okay.
Anyhow, let's move on.
Okay. Here's one that's also in the vein of movies, and this one's a little more obscure, so we're going easy to harder.
Oh.
Name.
Are we going like from less washed up to more washed up?
This one's more washed up.
Okay.
What 2008 snowboard movie was filmed in Big White or Silver Star Resort?
Now this is like a movie, like a Hollywood movie.
This is like a Hollywood
video,
movie,
not like a Mac Dog
2008
movie.
snowboard specific movie.
Ooh, okay.
And then there's a follow-up question. What washed up comedian played one of the washed up snowboarders?
Ooh.
Yeah.
There's double. Is that like a double negative?
Yes.
Double washed up is like
double
not washed up at all?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, cool.
So again, that question was what 2008 snowboard movie was filmed in Big White and Silver Star resorts, which are obviously resorts that are in
Canada. Yes.
Yeah. Kind of just like straight north of like Idaho, right?
I think so. Yeah. It's a nice little area.
Have you been up there?
I've driven through.
You've driven through?
Yeah.
I guess we both drove through when we went to Alaska, right?
Exactly. Rossland.
Okay.
And, I forgot what that resort was called.
It is that's a
Big
beautiful
White,
area.
I think it's Kelowna, maybe.
Okay.
Anyhow, I'm not really sure.
Oh, Kelowna.
Maybe it's like closer to that.
Or Kamloops.
Kamloops or Kelowna. Some one of those beautiful central
there.
BC places that that I don't spend enough time at.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Final thoughts?
Let's go riding, Beav. Do you want to boot them up today?
We should boot it up today.
I'm going to boot it up, I think.
Boot them up.
Let's try to get this like episode out and then boot them up. Do we have time to do that?
I think we have time to do that.
Okay,
yeah,
let's
do that. So if you're listening, be sure to go out and snowboard. If there's powder, go out and get some POW. If you are not anywhere around a resort, go check out some of those films. Get stoked on snowboarding and be sure to make your way up to the mountain.
And also, please review us. Please rate us and review us, because it's like that's how also that helps us with our rating on the charts. And that's what we're trying to do, is grow this thing organically. And we have been growing, but we can always grow more. You know, I think our initial goal is like 0.1% of our potential audience of snowboarders listening to us, and we're not even close to that. We're not even at like 1/10,000th of 1% because there's a lot of snowboarders in the world. And we're doing good, but we're growing.
You know what? We're having a lot of fun, and that's all that matters, because we're just trying to put a little more fun in snowboarding.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. This has been another episode of Real Talk. We'll see you on the slopes. Peace.
On behalf of Mark Sullivan and the Beav, thanks for listening to the Snowboard Project. Remember, ride fast, take chances, dream big, and take action. And for God's sake, don't forget to support advertising-free snowboarding media at patreon.com. The Snowboard Project. The Snowboard Project.